welcome to the 4Corners podcast. I'm Brad, joined by Matt and Shad, as always. Gentlemen, how are you doing this evening?
Doing good.
Doing all right.
Is it as cold in your regions as it is where I am?
God, it was 30 this morning.
Mm.
God.
Yeah, it's been cold all day. It's been, I think, in the high 40s, maybe got up to like the low 50s, but the worst part was like it was windy today, so it's like with the wind chill, it's much colder, but it was okay. It's supposed to, I think, warm up a little bit, but not much. It's one of those like we had like the fake spring. Because it's like 80 degrees. It's like, oh, this is nice. And then it's like the next day, it's like, here, and now it's going to drop like 30 to 40 degrees. It's like, what?
We had a lot of storms last week, so Saturday I woke up to a neighbor's tree through my fence.
Ooh.
It wasn't too much damage, and they had it removed yesterday, and it was easy to like at least keep it so the dogs can't get out.
I had an instance today. My knee hurt so badly I just about fell over at work. I got up out of my desk chair to go do something, and then all of a sudden it was just like, nope, that's not happening today.
Yeah, I
didn't love that.
I hurt my ankle when one of my dogs escaped a couple weeks ago, and it was finally like feeling pretty good. And then I missed a step in the basement yesterday and fucked it all up again. Because why wouldn't I?
I mean, we're off to a terrific something or other, right?
Yeah. So, this week we're going to be doing it's a concept we did a long time ago. I don't think we've done it in a couple of years. So this is a bag of holding. I lost the bag actually, so I had to write them down. I lost the bag in the move, so I have a couple questions here, and we might get to all of them. We might not. Depends. So we're gonna do that. And it can be anything. It could be wrestling. It could be comics. It could just be fast food. I think we've had a bit of everything come out of the bag over the years. So we're gonna start with something that we can wax nostalgic about. So what do you miss about the old internet? We'll say the pre-2012 internet.
It wasn't dead.
Well, yes. Do we? Because it's still labeled a conspiracy theory, but I don't think the dead internet theory is really a conspiracy theory so much anymore.
No, I feel like there's some pretty solid evidence for it. The thing I liked was the fact that I'm sorry, Matt. You go ahead and
you were talking.
No. I was going to pivot something else. Go ahead.
All I was going to say is like I wouldn't call it a conspiracy theory. I guess the only question is like, well, how much of it's dead? How much of it's just real people? But I guess it's not dead, but there is a lot of bots. But the worst thing is that I think people are out there. The problem is that everything, like even search engines, but especially social media, like the algorithm screws things up like terribly. Well, because people that back in the day you would interact with, or even like just in terms of like search histories, it's like people have noted this, and it's I swear to God this is true. Is that back in the day, and the day was only like a few years ago, maybe like 5 years ago, I could Google something, and it would give me like some really good results, and sometimes I'd find like even obscure stuff that actually would answer my point. I mean, if you're searching something simple, it's like I want to look up gorillas. It's like, okay, well, you're gonna get a lot of top things. But if you want something like, I remember this fanfic I read, let me try and search. It's like you would find like weird stuff. But I mean, you can find like interesting results. Now, the top searches, it's like it's people what probably people have paid, like companies have paid.
Oh, you have to go.
And it's all like garbage.
You have to go. Sometimes you have to go to the second page to get out of the sponsored stuff. But there's two problems.
Yeah.
So they have the sponsored stuff, so people can pay to go to the top, which is usually garbage stuff. But the other problem is Google's done like a lot of social engineering the last decade. So like, let's say I wanted to be like, where can I buy a handgun near me? And Google will be like, well, that's a no-no thing because that hurts our feelings. So we're going to make that harder for you to figure out
Yeah.
and steer you away
They
from
have
those naughty guns.
they have a lot of where they've optimized searches and you can get sponsored search stuff now. It's like, oh great, so I can't actually search for what I wanted to search for because now I have to search for what you say is okay for me to find. Awesome. It's I mean, we went through this time period where, yeah, the internet was the Wild West, and there was a bunch of stuff on it that, it could be hard to find, or there was a bunch of stuff that seemed, I don't know, for lack of a better term, unregulated or whatever, but, it was kind of this open source idea thing, and everything wasn't congregated or aggregated into just specific locations, and you didn't have to have your own name on every damn thing. You didn't have to have an account for every damn thing either.
Yeah. Or you didn't have every newspaper trying to paywall you. The one I hate though is search engines. That goes along with the social engineering though. So let's say like a study comes out and it's a legitimate study, like 100% legit, but it goes against like the internet narrative. So you'll Google search that and you won't even be able to find the actual study. You'll just get like a page. You just get like 3 pages of like, this is why this study is wrong.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say
the algorithm.
Yeah, and
the algorithm has pretty much ruined everything.
And like I was gonna say, to go where I really started to see the dead internet theory though was during the election on Reddit. You could tell when the bots got their new programming or those new round of checks cleared. Because there was I'm not gonna get too political, but there was actually an interesting article on. It's a conservative site. I'm gonna say right now, but there's an interesting article on the Federalist that talks about the astroturfing done during the campaign, and they name names with receipts. And you could go on Reddit when that article came out and see those people trying to be like, no, I'm not a shill. So it was kind of funny. But you could see like. So something you could see something would happen. Like it was funny when something would go like really off the wall, and you would see Reddit kind of go normal for a couple of days until they could figure out like the new thing to tell all the bots or shills to do. Yeah. But that kind of really was like, oh, the internet's dead. Or when you get like a movie, like a Disney movie comes out, and you can just see like the same copy paste.
Yeah, that's okay. You get if you pay attention or if you know what it is you're looking for, then it's not hard to spot out when basically the bots get marching orders. Not even necessarily bots, just sometimes it's just straight up shills.
Yeah.
Get marching orders, and
or it's
they'll
Grace
be like,
Randolph.
and they'll because you get the same sentiment over and over and over and over and over again. And a lot of times the exact same verbiage. I know people claimed that, what was the exact phrase? That Tony Khan was a conspiracy theorist for saying, he's like, no, I got proof of, bot campaigns and stuff. And they're like, oh, listen to this guy. He's saying, it was like,
Well, there's,
He actually commissioned like a study, didn't he?
Well, no, we found out
he owns an analytic company.
There was something that happened. I think Joe Lanza kind of also shined light on that in the last year. But something happened recently. Can't remember what it was, where everyone was kind of like, "Oh shit, Tony was right." Because it's interesting. I think the current WWE hot run, and they're making a lot of money, and their attendance is pretty good. But I think it's interesting how much online they get pushed and then you go offline or even onto sites that aren't primarily wrestling. Nothing's different. Like on other sites it has like it's like default mega thread, or if you go off the internet. I would even say I used to hear more people a decade ago talk about it in the wild than I do now.
This is kind of, I guess, tangentially related, but it recently in the last like month or two, like people got, obviously WWE fans got real pissed at like Joey Janela because Joey Janela was making the argument like, oh, it's actually a brilliant thing that AEW is teamed up with Big AJ Justice and his son.
Mhm.
Well, maybe I forget who it's like the Costco guys and the
Yeah.
Rizzler.
It's
Because
Big
they
Boom
have
AJ and Big Justice is his son.
okay, and because they have like a huge following, and they're Joey Janela made the point, and he's true that like you put those guys, drop them down in Times Square, there's gonna be a ton of people who are like, oh my god, and maybe they don't even know their names. Like I don't know their names, but it's like, oh my god, the Costco guys, and they're gonna like crowd around them. So if
Mhm.
AEW, Tony Khan, he signed them to a contract so that maybe 3-4 times a year they show up on AEW programming and they'll promote like a pay-per-view, whatever like that, because
And the
Mhm.
one guy is like a
AJ's
legit.
gonna have.
AJ's a legit
Oh
wrestler.
no, that was the funny thing is that he became popular with Costco, and then someone like on Twitter or whatever like tracked down. It's like, hey, did everyone know this guy used to be like a wrestler in like 2000? Because he was like in the indie scene in like the Northeast in like 2000. And I don't think he ever made a name, but here we are like 25 years later. Guy's like in his 40s or 50s, but he's getting like he's doing some stuff with AEW, and it's like it's silly stuff. It's like let's have a match with QT Marshall or something, and it's like it's
Yeah.
inoffensive, it's quick, it's fine.
It's on a
Nothing for the
pre-show.
but he
Yeah.
hypes it up. Yeah, but Joey Janela's point was like it's brilliant because more people know him than your love affair with Roman Reigns. Like no one knows who Roman Reigns is, and it's like
So-
that's maybe being flippant, but it's also like drop Roman Reigns, put Roman Reigns in an airport, and the Costco guys. More people are going to go to the Costco guys than in Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns could sail through security, not maybe a couple people will recognize him. There's going to be a crowd with like the Costco guys. People taking
Yeah.
pictures, everything.
So I don't know if you remember, but when they first had the Costco guys show up, they had those guys show up, and it was something about them having, I don't know, like 30 million TikTok views or something like that, right? And then WWE comes out and claims that they had 25 million views. WWE comes out and claims that the Drew Punk whatever on YouTube had 30 million. And it's like, where's the other 25 million there, bud? And it's like, oh, it's from other sources. And it's like,
That doesn't count.
really? Really? It's from mythical other sources, huh?
I love. I've watched wrestling now for like 30 plus years, like the majority of my life. I don't know that there's like 30 million diehard wrestling fans like globally.
No,
like
it's more niche than ever.
It is. It's a niche fandom, and it's gotten probably even smaller. Like it.
Yeah, because the
It
thing
still
is,
could potentially grow a little, but
the
that
problem
number is
is
completely nonsense if they're trying to sell that.
'cause I think even from like a decade ago during the indie boom, I think it's gotten smaller because, like a decade ago, I think AEW being around is a good thing, but like you could get like the flavor you wanted like a decade ago, but the problem is like with AEW, the indies are really thin. Like anything that's not those two companies is a lot thinner now, and you really can't get that flavor anywhere you want anymore. And I think a lot of the audience is like aging and dying out. Because that what was his name? Oh fuck! I was gonna give him a shout out too. The guy that died this week.
Castle?
I want to say Frank
Is that
Castle.
Kilmer?
No. The guy that with a podcast. He's an old school.
Oh, Kevin Castle.
Yeah, Kevin Castle.
Okay.
I think a lot of people are starting to die out, like him and Dean Rossmossen and stuff. And I don't think there is a younger
Dean.
is
Yeah,
I don't think there's
Dean's like a deep cut if you you're a wrestling fan, because he was very heavily involved with the Death Valley Driver Review Board.
Mhm.
No, I
And
think
if
it
you
was
remember,
his
like they
board
did,
originally.
well, yeah, but I mean, he was deeply involved with that, and when he passed away, I think he passed away like last year. It was recent. They did a whole tribute show, and
Mm.
I think like maybe before he died, or maybe it's his funeral expenses. Like Tony Khan actually donated, because that's the thing. Tony Khan was part of like
No,
he was a poster.
Tony Khan donated like the entirety of what they asked, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, because Tony Khan was on the Death Valley Driver Review board, message board way back in the day,
Yeah.
and he's not
Mhm.
that. He's probably like
He's
he's
a-
comparable in age. He's around like 40, yeah. So
Yeah, he's a little younger than us.
Yeah.
I'm a little older than that.
But like
And Tony Khan, but he was
but-
probably on the boards the same time some of us were kicking around the board. So
but like he
Mhm.
died Larry Zonka, who's like the original owner of 411 Wrestling, died a couple years ago, and then Chris Hyatt, who was a reviewer in like the early days of the internet, also has passed away. So I think the fan base is also kind of dying out too. But I just think it's more niche than ever. Like I don't think outside of John Cena and The Rock, I don't think it like a normie would watch AEW or WWE and know anyone. Well, maybe Chris Jericho. They know Chris Jericho because he's from the Attitude Era still.
So, I realize this is strictly anecdotal. Like this is one data point. But a month ago, I was at one of the larger comic conventions in the eastern half of the U.S. I saw more non-WWE wrestling shirts than I did WWE wrestling shirts by like a wide gap. And it was not it wasn't even close. And what are people there doing? They're like, oh, we're here because we want to see Ron Simmons and JB. We want to see the acolytes that are here, and Sergeant Slaughter's here, and Sting was there Saturday only. All that sort of stuff, right? And it's like, and I'm looking around, I'm like, even with most of the names here being like WWF nostalgia acts, I'm not seeing near as many T-shirts. So, it was a it was an interesting thing to observe, I guess I should say.
I have three things in particular I was thinking about. One of the things I miss about the old internet. So, message boards was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Still a superior form of posting.
Discord gives you a little bit of that message board hit.
Yeah. Actual websites devoted to things.
Mm-hmm.
And some guy just kind of doing it for love of the game.
Yeah.
And the third thing I miss, because it's probably been, they're getting to be about, I don't know, a little over 20 years now. Not overly commercialized podcasts with amateurs doing it is what I miss. Like I miss the couple guys getting together in their basement talking about D&D, not, oh, celebrity that's played D&D twice is trying to cash in on the trend with which you can't even make it 20 minutes in because you're on your fifth live read and you're 18 minutes into the show.
That's something that, like, because I a lot of times during work, because I'm mostly just like working on a computer, typing. Whether I'll oftentimes I'll play podcasts to like whittle away the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll listen to podcasts, a variety of podcasts, and sometimes it's like sponsored podcasts, and they'll do like a bunch of live reads, and it's like, oh yeah, we already, like, by the fourth or fifth episode, they're like, oh yeah, we have all this like fan mail, we have like 10,000 5-star reviews in it. It's like, I'm like, y'all are on like the fourth episode, like, and it's not even people like you hear. So it's like, how are you like? Yeah, and I mean, I know like we've been doing the show a long time, and like we don't have like thousands of subscribers. It's like, well, maybe it's not about that. I'm doing this for like my own edification. I enjoy it.
Yeah,
like,
we
but
do this
it's
because we
kinda,
enjoy doing it.
but yeah, it is like a celebrity. Like, oh, we're gonna do a D&D podcast, and it's like they're already like come out the gate like sponsored, and it's like, okay, come on. This is now
Yeah.
just like a business venture. You're not doing it because it's like
So
I'm a big D&D nerd. I want to do it with my friends. It's like, okay,
I can tell you outright that if I'm listening to the radio in the car, which I do sometimes because God, I don't. Sometimes I just want to listen to the radio, right? And what do I hear? I hear an iHeartRadio commercial about, oh, this new podcast that's on iHeart, and it's like, and they're like, the one I remember, the first one I remember that pissed me off was this one that was searching for Sneha, and it was about this doctor who, no, it was that she went missing on 9/11, and I remember the things. It's be like, she just vanished with, there's no credit card receipts, there's no travel stuff. Who does that? What happened? I'm like, she died in 9/11, and they had like 18 episodes, and all of these episodes were basically, they were a half hour long, and they would spend 20 minutes that weren't ads recapping the previous episodes, and then add like 5 minutes of stuff, and then it's 5 minutes of tell us what you think. And I was just absolutely livid. It's like, what is this basic bitch ass shit that you're trying to pass off as a big deal? Like, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? And yes, I'll admit I might have gotten a bit over animated about it, but it was pathetic. It's like, you expect people to listen to this, and then they're put another one on there. And it's like, hi, I say my name like I'm someone you should recognize, and I'm doing this podcast about blank 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 blank, something that was a big deal 3 years ago. I'm doing a true crime podcast. It's like, oh, congratulations, you and everybody else.
True crime. We could talk about the death of like true crime as like a genre.
It's so damn oversaturated.
It is. It's really
it did
bad.
get oversaturated. This is a very famous one, but for a while I listened to the My Favorite Murder podcast. I don't know if you listened to that or heard about that one. It was like two women who they're kind of in the entertainment industry. One might be a comedian. I don't know, but they did the show and they would each discuss like a famous murderer. Which if you actually like, the show was entertaining enough. I mean, I haven't listened to it in a while, but it was entertaining enough. But if you actually listen to like they're talking about the murder, it was pretty much amounted, because I would look like it amounted to them talking about the serial killer or the criminal, whatever, and just essentially it's a recap of their Wikipedia page. It's not like I read this book about them or read these like 20 articles and I'm surmising like a narrative with this. It was just that. It was entertaining enough, but then it's obviously the show got popular. So every other episode of the podcast was like they were on tour.
Yeah.
So every other episode was them, like, it was just a recording of a live event they did. And it's like, look, get that bag, guys. Like, sell out a small little, like, 500-seat venue with people who want to come listen to you do your podcast live. But to me, it kind of gets to be like, like, I'm not really feeling this. Like, and I wasn't, like, hardcore into true crime. But, I mean, it was a little bit interesting. I'm like, sure. Like, I'll listen to some of this. But it got to be like, maybe what Brad is saying kind of like, it's like sometimes I like just like, I want a grimy, unprofessional podcast.
Yeah.
I just want like, y'all are doing it from your basement.
Well, it's like
it's not professional. It's not too slick and overproduced.
It's like when you follow a YouTuber, and they're like, well, guess what? I can afford to be in a studio now and stuff, and it's like it's not the same anymore.
Right.
But I'll see
the only one that The only true crime podcast I can think of off the top of my head that's persisted and still feels rather true to its original self is Last Podcast on the Left, and that's because it's not really a true crime podcast. It's a comedy podcast that talks about true crime.
Yeah, but even then, like they say true, but they're running out of stuff to talk about. Like you can tell they're starting to strain like for topics.
They are, but I don't blame them for sticking with it, because I mean, how could you not at this point, right? Like if it's been working, of course you're going to stay with it. But they're not like a, and then this is what happened. It's like, they crack jokes on it, and that's what the whole thing's about, as opposed to it just trying to talk about, the creepy or something, which everybody wanted to hand.
Also, the one that pisses me off and is a newer podcast thing, especially like super corporate ones, is like the to me, it's unacceptable and absolute bullshit for podcasts to have seasons. Like, I absolutely hate that. Hey, we're going to do 6 episodes and fuck off for 6 months, and we'll come back with another 6 episodes if you're lucky. And it's like, that's not...
if they had said, we're going to do this series, and then we're going to take a little break while we get ready for the next one. Okay, you know what? I get that. I can understand that. Sure. But if you're not doing it for more than half the year, then I'm definitely giving you, the stink eye.
Yeah, I've seen podcasts like that too, where it's like, maybe I'll get into a show because I listen to like an episode or two, and I'm like, oh, it's really great, and it's like, and you see it's got like 36 episodes.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, okay, well, it's been around a little bit, like probably been doing it for a few months, and you look and it's like, oh, when did the podcast start? Oh, 2017. It's like, okay.
How do you only have this many?
Yeah, you've done like 3 dozen in like 8 years. Okay, like even that's, I don't even know. That's not even like six a year. That's just, come on.
Yeah.
Like there's some that there's some that'll take like a month off here and there, which I think's fine. But like, I don't know. That's the other thing. That's the other thing, like, when people are like, why am I not more popular? It's like, well, because you don't put episodes out consistently.
Yeah. Aren't we at, like, something like 350 weekly episodes or something like that?
I think so, yeah. I need to, I've been busy, so I need to get caught up on getting the feed
podcast ones uploaded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the midst of moving again, so... I need to just get them scheduled out.
It's funny because here we are, again, podcasts have gotten so damn... Well, everybody... It used to be great because it was a radio show that anybody could do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, cool. That's fun. That's nice. And you got this... And now it's like... Hi, I'm Mario Lopez, and now I'm going to be doing this podcast, and you're going to listen to it only because you recognize my name.
Yeah.
And that's all there is to it. And, not hating Mario Lopez because, I mean, dude, get the bag for, I guess, not really working. More power to you, but why would I listen to that? What is the draw?
There's, I hate to say this because I've done it more than once, but there's been a couple of podcasters that I've found their email and I've emailed them and been like, your sound quality is absolute dog shit. Like, buy these things so you do not sound like dog shit.
Your sound quality is bad and you should feel bad.
Well, no, it's just like...
I hope you like your advice, like, constructive criticism.
No, I've emailed people before and I've just been like, look, like, no one is going to listen to you if you sound this bad. Like, these microphones work well. Like, do these things, sit against the wall, make sure, have carpet or something. Like, don't sit in a big room. Like, I've given people advice before because I've just been like, look, like, your show is kind of decent, but your sound quality sucks. Like, I can't listen to it. No one else is going to listen to it. You have to at least sound of a certain level for people too, because it drives me nuts, especially like on YouTube. Like there will be some YouTubers that have been around for a long time. Like I hate his guts, but like if you have the misfortune of stumbling upon a Movie Bob video, he still sounds like something from like 15 years ago because he hasn't upgraded his sound stuff. And it's not hard. Like that's the other thing that drives me nuts when people have bad quality. That was just like, it is not expensive, and it is not hard to sound at least mediocre.
Like this is a pretty decent mic, and from what I can tell, sounds all right. You know.
Yeah.
Like
so yeah, my
this is $60, I think, and the arm was 25.
My we're gonna have to re-renovate our house soon enough. So when we move back into the house, maybe I'll invest in a nicer microphone, which is just this little headset I have.
Headset one, yeah.
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 But I'm not gonna drop major cash. I think if you're saying you got your little setup there for like under $100, like that's
you can
bad.
get like a Yeti for like 110, and you're set for like forever.
This one right here, my wife got, and it's not a name I particularly know, but I have a friend who's a sound engineer, and whenever I told him what I had, he said, "That is a perfectly okay mic. You are set." And I was like, "All right then. If perfectly okay means I'm set, then who am I to argue?"
Okay, so we're gonna go to our next question here. So we're gonna go to wrestling. So, do you remember when did you fall out of love with WrestleMania? So I can kind of, I don't have a specific date. I think it was around 2013, 2014. But when I realized if I was watching during the year that WrestleMania was starting to derail like the booking from the entire year because they had to bring the legends back or whatever. I think it's like when Rock beat Punk for the title. It's kind of like when it started to bug me.
I'd have to look. You know what? Let me look it up because I think I can. I wasn't ever really quote unquote in love with WrestleMania because I was never really a WWEF guy, but I can tell you about the time that I really stopped paying much in the way of attention. Let's see. Oh no! I can tell you that. I can tell you the angle that did it. The angle that put me, because even as not being a WWEF fan, the angle that really pissed me off for a while, and then I came back to watch 20 because I really enjoyed 20. The two angles that really did it for me, because it was successive years. They did that, and then I liked 20, and then it kind of dropped back off because I didn't give a damn anymore. So the main event angles for 18 and 19 are what really put a damper on it, because 18 was the Triple H feuds with Stephanie McMahon featuring Chris Jericho feud. And I hated that angle. I hated it so much. And then 19 was the Triple H the Racist wins main event. And it's just like,
that was a big fuck you to everyone.
Yeah. And then, okay, at 20 had a whole bunch of fun stuff on it. We had the return of, the classic Taker. You had Eddie. You had Voldemort. You had all that sort of stuff. And then they immediately pissed on it right after that one, too. They're just like, yeah.
Is that when because they did the rematch, and then
They
That's-
did the rematch, and then they had somebody else beat Voldemort for the title because I guess Vince was like putting his foot down that no, Triple H wasn't going to beat Voldemort for it. And they just had somebody else do it and just basically pissed on it. And then it was like, pretty much after that, I was like, yeah, sure, tell me what happens. No, I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it.
Yeah.
I can, well, I could probably tell you. So I'm kind of like you, Shad. It's like I guess when I was younger, like WrestleMania was a big deal. I remember watching 17. I bought that
It was like the Super
when I
Bowl
watched
for
that
me
live.
at one point in my life.
Yeah, yeah.
I've still never watched 17 the whole way through.
I bought it, watched it live. I feel like I
Same.
bought 20 too. I was into 20.
I bet I still have the VHS tape of the original broadcast of it.
But then I kind of got out of. I didn't follow wrestling as closely because by then it was just like pretty much WWE.
Yeah.
You had TNA, but I mean that wasn't TNA was never really
It
that
TNA
big of a
was
rival. But
TNA had like 2006 TNA was pretty good, and then they for some reason they brought Vince Russo back and it never recovered.
yeah, yeah. But there were like matches or stuff that I was into, I guess. But it would depend upon what the card was. But I wasn't like wowed by it. But I was into 30. Wasn't 30 like when Danielson. Bryan?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah, so I was into that because obviously I was a huge Brian Danielson fan. But I will say what really like I checked out was what was 35? That was New York, right? New York, and when it was headlined
let's
by
see.
Becky, Ronda, Charlotte,
I'm looking right now. Hang on.
which I'm pretty sure it was 34 or 35. I think it was 35.
Well, I've been 34 because we're
Yeah, 35. You're
Okay.
right.
Yeah, so that was when I checked out because that was right before the pandemic. I was at 35, and I enjoyed it. I went with my wife, and Christy Petrillo and Damian Gonzalez and a bunch of guys, but I enjoyed it. But it was also 6 hours of being there, and by the end of it, like I enjoyed the match. I think my wife like put her head on my shoulder and started falling asleep because it's like it's too much, and that was kind of when it's like I don't need like I love wrestling. Like I don't need like a 6-hour show.
Yeah,
Even like stuff that I enjoyed more than WWE. It's like I don't need like a 6-hour show. And certainly if I'm going to have that, I need better pacing than what we got with that. After that, it was obviously the pandemic, etc. But honestly, after that, which even if you listen to the show, episodes of the show, by 2018, on this show we were like WWE is like they're going downhill. And I know people like have thought that, oh, they've been so great since Vince left. It's like, no, I maintain, no, it's actually not been good at all. It's still been bad. It's just, it went from like really schizophrenic bad booking to still bad booking,
but it's
boring booking.
Yeah.
Just less schizophrenic, more logical booking. So it's like, it's still bad booking. It's just like the guy, the person, it's like getting on the person who is like schizophrenic, like terrible, like not really understanding what they're doing. Well, he lost it, crazy sex pest is gone. Now you're left with a completely different terrible person running things.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
it's still not. I maintain it's still not good. And to the extent that you were to say things about the modern WWE product have been good or interesting, it's like it's not Triple H booking that. Do you love Bloodline? Do you honestly think that Triple H has been writing and booking the Bloodline? He hasn't been.
Yeah.
But it's pulled back the curtain. It's been Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman and like Roman Reigns and even Sami Zayn to an extent. It's not been Triple H. He just gets all the credit.
Yeah. Well, I think that the length of the shows, and now it's the 2-night thing has been a turnoff because, especially like with the length of the show, if like I order a pizza at the start of the show and I'm gonna have to eat again before the show's over, like the show's too long.
Mm.
That's a great way of putting it.
Like if I'm gonna need to order 2 pizzas so I can have like a pizza after the pizza because I'm gonna need lunch and dinner while watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the thing, like I like the AEW pay-per-views, but man, like if I watch the pre-show, I start crashing out by 11.
So
I get that, but in
Yeah.
fairness to AEW, that's why I mentioned pacing. I do think they're a little better with the pacing. I'm saying I'm with you in that maybe it's like as the older I get, it's like my attention span is off, but
No,
I
they
don't want
don't
to
do
sit through
the
like a 4 or 5 hour show.
they don't
Even
do
I don't even.
the they don't do the hey, we're gonna do a 12-minute video package and 5-minute entrances for a 3-minute match.
Yeah. Or like now's the time for the 30-minute talk segment. It's like no.
Well, especially like with the WWE ones, they're doing like 3-hour like PLEs with 4 matches now, and it's just like
Mhm.
no,
And the matches aren't like 30-minute epics.
no.
no,
It's like a 10-minute match.
I don't understand how does the crowd not absolutely mutiny on you? You go there for a show and then you have what, like 45 minutes of video packages and ads before someone hits the ring.
That's because that's what they want. That's their fan base now.
I
I
just-
am. It is
They come for the
boring
45-minute
as
video
hell.
package.
I stopped going to their TV almost 20 years ago because I couldn't fucking take it. Because, like, even back then, they'd have you staring at the Titantron for 30-minute chunks sometimes. And it's like, well,
Yeah,
why the
if I'm
hell are
watching
you
a-
there?
Yeah, if I'm watching a wrestling show, I want to be able to like my face forward watching the ring. I don't want to be like
Yeah.
all night long. Just
Yeah,
craned up
no,
looking
no.
at a Titantron.
Yeah, that's
I
why
agree
I
with
shouldn't
you.
have to do that unless I've paid like, $5 for the note, like the seats to where my view is obstructed by like a pillar. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll look at
I mean,
Titantron.
you can get a seat where the ring's there and the screen's up behind it, and that's kind of cool. But
well, like if I go to like Nationwide, they have like the middle thing that usually has the same stuff playing, so you don't have to crank your head anymore. Thankfully,
I mean, they are on your side.
yes.
That as you said, there's a big difference in terms of pacing because I've been to 3 AEW shows. The pacing was consistently good. Like they're not
My only
wearing you out.
my only bitch about going to AEW shows, because the last time I went, is guys, I'm in my 40s. If you're gonna make me sit there for 4 hours, you gotta give me at least somewhere where I can run to the bathroom and take a piss. Like
Yeah.
that's my biggest complaint about their shows.
You pick your shots. What you do.
Yeah,
The first AEW show I went to, I was there and I'm like, oh God, what am I going to take my break? What am I? And then because it was pre-timeless Tony Storm versus Soraya, and I'm like, this is the time. Here I go. Not that I didn't like them, but out of everything, that was the time I was going to the bathroom.
I think when I went, like Soraya's music hit, I'm like, oh thank God, Zoom.
but
But like even like the commercial breaks that they like interact with you and stuff, which
Yeah.
WWE will just let you sit there bored out of your
Yeah.
mind. And they'll do stuff now
That's-
like and they've done that for a while. Like they'll do things that are meant for the TV and like is
Mhm.
like the red during the Hell in the Cell or whatever and people couldn't see.
yeah, the that's one thing that I think people don't give Justin Roberts credit for is the dude is spectacular at keeping crowds engaged. He's out there, he's talking with the crowd, he's keeping you engaged, and he's really, really good at it. So, I seeing him live, I was like, I got a newfound respect for this dude because he knows what he's doing. But they, like you said, they keep their pacing going. It's fun to be there. They vary things up so you're not getting the same kind of match all the damn time. It's a good show.
ROH used to be the worst. The fucking
Mhm.
worst at pacing. Matt probably knows what I'm talking about. They'd make you sit there for 4 or 5 hours and then they'd after you're already tired, they'd like smack you with like a 40-minute main event.
Now it's time for the
Oh.
45-minute Marty Skrull match.
And
It's
it's
like
just like, ugh.
No.
Really?
Yeah, the best
God.
paced one I ever went to was Chikara because it was 2.5 hours. NXT's pretty good too when they were doing live shows, but it's 2.5 hours. I think the longest match was the main event, which is like 18 minutes. They did like a
Mhm.
battle royal as an encore, and they just kept it going. All the matches were different. You're in and out. It was like 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, so I was done by 5:30. It was like the perfect wrestling show.
That's pretty. That's part of why I'm actually really excited about Y'all In, because it's like, oh, it's starting at, what is it, like 2 or 3 p.m. Eastern?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, dude, that's time. That's enough time to, you know, let me see. Get home from church, have something to eat, get changed, settle in, enjoy the show, and then, hey, guess what? This evening, I can do other stuff. I'm not trying to scramble and get it all done before the show starts.
That's why I like watching TJPW on Wrestle Universe is because their standard show. I mean, the big shows are more like 3 hours, but like a standard house show is like 2 hours to 2 hours and 20 minutes. You pull it up, you go to about minute 13 because good catch, Matt.
Hit that mute button right
Yeah,
as I
that was good timing.
that was it was a race against time. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no.
So worse is like, do I have to? Because, but so those are 2 hours to 2 hours and 20 minutes. So you bring it up, you go to the 13-minute mark to get past the ring announcer doing the intro and the up girls doing their song. Get to the 1st
Mhm.
match. You're in and out. Hour 45 minutes to maybe 2 hours of your life. It's all
Oh, yeah.
matches, maybe some angles. If you're in a hurry, you can kind of skip to the next intro after a match. Like it's great.
On the Wrestle Universe app, they give you the option to like skip ahead. I think it's only like 10 seconds.
Yeah,
You can
10 seconds.
yeah,
of
you
it.
can really usually you can skip ahead, quite a bit because the intros themselves will take like 2-3 minutes, and it's like a lot, especially with the house shows. Most of the matches outside of maybe like the main matches are like under 10 minutes. Maybe the bigger matches will be 10 to 15 or so. So they're they're quick and digestible. Oh, Brad, as a side, I think you probably know or saw that Namba, the ring announcer, is leaving soon.
Oh no! What lame?
You didn't know that?
No.
She's leaving. She's moving to Canada to become like I think like a translator or like a interpreter or something. Like she's leaving Japan. Like she's
That's like a.
But this is something that Tokyo Joshi Pro like uses this terminology a lot. But I've seen other like Joshi companies like when a Joshi worker retires,
It's graduating.
they say like, oh, they've graduated. They're
That's
graduating.
that's a.
And
I think that's an. I think that's a general term because I think they say that about VTubers over there when they like retire, and I think idols they say it about too. So I think that's like a cultural term because I hear it a lot with regards to a lot of things in Japan.
yeah, but Namba is it's very good. She's very entertaining. So it's sad to see her go. But
And we do have Jungle Kiona is coming back. I don't know for how long.
it seems like she's coming back. She's been on the shelf for like
years.
3-4 years,
Yeah.
maybe longer.
So
She's a Joshi worker. She injured her knee badly, and it's just like I thought she was done, but she's kind of making it. She's gonna come back.
I'm interested if she's gonna how long she'll last though because I was under the impression that they were pretty bad injuries, but I also think for like Marigold's sake, like I think that's a decent get for them.
Oh, is
That's
that where
a-
she's gonna go?
Yeah, that's kind of like someone.
I
in
hope
their
she works out some sort of deal with Rossi, where she does like maybe 1 or 2 shows a month versus him like wanting to run a sweatshop. and run,
Yeah,
like,
I
8
think
shows a week.
I
With
think
rookies.
I think just putting her on like the A shows might be like the way to go with her until like at least for like the first year just so she can like see how her knees are feeling.
She's not that old. Like she's early 30s.
No, but the problem is
I think she's probably not any older than like Kairi Sane.
problem is when those knees start going, you're just
Well,
on.
yeah.
And then if like especially if she's bad enough where she might need knee replacements at some point, then it turns into you need to try and you need to this is true of hips too. You need to try and go as long as you possibly can because the longer you can go, the more the lifespan of the fake ones like go up because like my dad had hip replacement like I think 5ish years apart, maybe 5 or 7 years apart. And in that time period the surgery changed a lot and got less invasive, but I think his
The
second
quality of
yeah,
the prosthetics. Yeah.
and I think his second hip had another had 5 years more life than the first one did.
What did he have? A vascular necrosis? That's
Um,
usually like the terminology.
no, his were like his first one was so bad, like he cracked his tailbone,
Hmm.
and then
Mm.
so then because they don't even put like the only metal they put in you for hip replacement now is the filler, like his hips are
Hmm.
ceramic.
Interesting. So I think I've said this on the show before, but I'm not in the medical field, but I deal a lot with medical information. So I've said this before, but I'll say this again. It's like if you have some sort of degenerative musculoskeletal condition, like you have bad knees, you have bad hips, bad shoulders, most definitely the spinal stuff, go as long as you can without them doing surgery or replacement. Now, if you have to be like a tore rotator cuff, they gotta do
Yeah.
surgery to repair it. Okay. Like, my knee, like when the meniscus is tore, they gotta repair that. Great. I tore my ACL. Okay. Like you need Tommy John surgery somehow for some reason. Like, okay. But when they talk about like replacing joints or they start doing like spinal fusions or laminectomies or discectomies, whatever like that, avoid that if you can, because when they start doing things like that, that's when things start going awry. And it can affect your mobility. It's not as bad with joint replacement now, only because like Brad said, they've made a lot of advancements. And I think even like Dustin Rhodes is like
He's
he
on
had both
two
his knees
fake knees. Yeah,
replaced.
hip
Yeah,
surgery
he's still moving about pretty well, but but someone like Great Muda, I think, has got his knees replaced,
Yeah.
and he like can't walk.
no, like hip
But
replacement,
spinal stuff,
especially. I don't know. Like at least in the States, like hip replacement's like nothing now. Like they get you up the day they do it, they have you walking around, you go home like in a day or two, and I think you're back at work in like a month to 6 weeks. Like it's pretty, like it's, and I mean the incision isn't as bad as you think, but I mean and like he walks like you couldn't even tell he has fake hips. And there's people that had it like 20 years ago, you can tell. Like when Piper was limping around with his fake hip and stuff. But
I still, again, for people who I'll beat the drum that physical therapy it might be the best option, and unfortunately, a lot of insurance companies don't want to pay it because I guess that's very expensive. But it's like a lot of times that actually works well because
actually that's been my
body can heal. Your body can heal itself from a lot, like a surprising amount. Your body can heal itself.
I've actually found the
So if
opposite
you-
is true in my dealings with private insurance. Is they have you in physical therapy to try and like avoid surgery, even though you probably need surgery.
Well,
I don't
it
understand
depends.
the damn.
Surgery can be very
I'm sorry.
expensive. So,
Yeah,
Jen.
I got cut off after I was getting physical therapy for my. I can't remember if it was for my neck or for my shoulder, and they cut me off after a month. The statement was, "Oh, he doesn't need this," and I was like, "The hell I don't." And my physical therapist was like, "No, he's getting better. This is good." And the insurance was just like, "Lol, don't care." Just like,
I bet you they would authorize a bunch of OxyContin for you. Percocets
oh yeah, they would have, but I had told my doctor, I was like, don't give me anything with opioids or don't give me opioids, don't give me opiates, don't give me nothing. Like, don't give me any of that. So I have a Flexeril prescription, which is a muscle relaxer.
Oh, I
It's a
fucking
muscle
hate
relaxer.
that. I fucking hate that. They gave it to me for something once, and like it felt like it felt like it like it fucked with my brain so bad. It felt like there was a little person in my brain like driving my body around because the disconnect
Mm.
was so bad. I hated it. I'd never take it
All it
again.
I
all
wasn't
it does to
that
me is all it does to me is it makes me sleepy. Like
yeah, I
that's the
think
only
like
side effect.
I think the medical is it the medical name like psychobenzaprine or something like that.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's Flexeril. Yeah,
I
I've
had
that's a
that.
muscle relaxant.
I've been lucky that
Yeah.
anytime they've ever tried to like say no to something, my doctor has screamed at them and they've relented and said okay, okay.
Hmm.
I had that, and I have a standing prescription of that, and I have a standing prescription of tizanidine. I don't remember what that's generic for, but it's basically they're just kind of slightly different muscle relaxers,
When
and that's for whenever the nerve in my neck gets pinched, all the muscles around it tense up and make it worse.
Oh,
yeah,
Xanaflex.
Okay.
I will say the
Tizanidine,
nice
yeah,
thing is if you get
yeah.
carpal tunnel, no one questions anything. They're just like, yep, get it done, no hoops or anything.
Uh, that's different than obviously like when I say like degenerative musculoskeletal, I mean like actually like your bones, like
Yeah.
something with your bones that they're doing surgery. But yeah, like carpal tunnel syndrome, like they have that down pretty well.
Yeah,
Although
well no, it's you miss
my
time like because your hand. So what they do, just as an aside, so
mhm,
they cut the ligament. Like so, well, you probably can't see it. Sorry, I gotta get through my wires. So you can kind of. So
Yeah,
what
a
they
little
do
bit.
is they cut me like here, and then they cut the ligament that was like pinching my nerve, and then the ligament
mm,
heals off of your nerve. So I missed
mm,
a month of work. I came back actually. I came back like right under what like the low time is. So I think like it's 4 to 6 weeks. I came back at like right under like a month. But so
mm,
a lot of the healing there, like they just gave you some Tylenol with codeine. That's what they gave me.
mm,
I felt relief from my symptoms. The worst part was the swelling. Couldn't write for a while, but like I had I had a I had a boss that had it done like 20 years ago. She showed me her hand, and I was like 6 weeks out from having it done. And she had this big old
giant
scar,
scar.
and
Yeah.
she had less movement in her hand than I had at 6 weeks after surgery.
My mother-in-law had carpal tunnel not that long ago, but hers was bad enough that she had the big Frankenstein cut.
Mm,
Like that's how badly hers was. So it's like,
I don't have the scars anymore. But if you saw like the cuts I had from having my gallbladder removed, you would it was insane. Like I think the biggest one was like that big.
oh yeah, the
oh,
when
the
they do the
laparoscopic.
Yeah, but
laparoscopic stuff.
I
Yeah,
fucking hated that though because so fun fact if you have laparoscopic surgery, so they pump you full of air so they can see better. So right after the surgery, it would build up in my back shoulder and it hurt so it felt like someone was stabbing me in the back with a knife. But yeah, because they were like, well, okay, well, we don't know what it's going to look like. So doctor's like, so we're going to do this, but if it's really bad and swollen, we're going to have to give you what I call the 1980, which means they cut you open like a fish and do it the old way.
Ooh.
What they do is they do it like on your side. I think that's where they put the camera in. They do another one to do a couple things, and they cut you above your belly button and pull it out there.
yeah.
Um, that wasn't a bad surgery either for having an organ removed.
Yeah. I mean, they put a little vacuum in and they suck your gallbladder out, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously more complicated than that, but
Yeah.
still.
The best part about the carpal tunnel is they just gave me a nerve block, so I didn't have to get put under for that. The nerve
Mm,
block hurt really bad because what they did is they give it to you right here, right into the nerve,
mm.
and then you start freaking out because it's super localized. So like this part of my hand was totally numb, but I could feel the top of my hand.
Damn.
And it freaks people out. It's like you're awake. I'm like, oh yeah, they just throw a blanket over your head. And I just talked to my surgeon about soccer while he was cutting me open. And it
Mm.
freaks people out. And it's like, did you feel anything? Like, like in my shoulder, I could feel like a little plucking sensation when they were doing stuff, but that was it.
I've had a procedure kind of like that, but I'm not going to go into detail right now. I'll tell you guys later.
And then the test to see if you have carpal tunnel is they put a bunch of diodes on you and they take what looks like a stun gun and they start zapping you to see.
Yeah, that's the abbreviation of that's called an EMG,
And
which they test to see all sorts of like neuropathy.
and then
Yeah.
I knew. Then I figured it out because he went towards he went back here. I'm like, oh shit, my arm's gonna jump like really bad on that one because he's going for the big nerve cluster and it did.
Is he doing the? He's like, oh, let's make sure this one works. Mad
pretty
scientist
much.
smile.
And then I was like worried. I'm like, well, because it was real bad. And I'm like, well, I hope. I'm when you get worried like in something's messed up, like, oh, what if they say nothing's wrong with you? And the doctor came and he's like, well, you didn't magically heal in the last 2 weeks. Did you? Like, oh, thank God, like I can get this fixed.
Yeah.
But I used to my hand would get cold all the time. Doesn't anymore. And I even had stuff all the way up in my neck from it. Like it's crazy, all the stuff it was screwing with.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because your nervous system is all tied together. But yeah, well, that's good that it was just carpal tunnel because I mean that part of the EMG thing is to see if you have basically cervical neuropathy. Because if you have some degenerative stuff happening in your neck, it can cause radiculopathy.
And he said
cause,
I was
shooting pain down your upper extremities, your hands. That's pretty common.
And he said I got it pretty early because he said a lot of people wait so long they start having atrophy from it in their hand.
Ooh, yeah.
Matt, I'm feeling a little called out with your description there. I don't actually have degenerated discs, but whenever that nerve gets pinched, I feel it all the way down to my left hand. If it's real bad, I feel it all the way down to my pinky, and my hand gets... It doesn't go numb.
Do you have bone spurs or...
Yeah, I have bone spurs, and I have no curve in my neck anymore. I have kyphosis. So...
You have what?
Kyphosis.
You have what?
Kyphosis, military neck.
I don't...
So it's,
I
my
very
neck's like
rarely
this.
see that.
Oh, yeah, it's there.
That's not as bad as stenosis.
No.
The spinal canal starts narrowing, and obviously you can imagine that. That's the dangerous part of that is that it keeps narrowing. That can start closing in on your spinal cord, which could cause paralysis if it gets too bad. That's why some wrestlers who've had bad stenosis, like Edge, bad stenosis, they'll have the spinal fusion. They'll have surgery to fix the stenosis.
Yeah.
And the diffusion. And now he obviously took many years off, but he came back. But it's dangerous. But most people you can have that and you can live a relatively normal life. But
yeah,
if you can avoid, that's a situation that it's if you have bad stenosis, it's you're stuck. You got to have the surgery.
Yeah.
I'm talking if you can avoid having surgery, especially on your spine. I only say that because a lot of times it may fix things for a while, but then pain.
It's a
happens
cascading.
again.
It's a cascading effect because
yeah, and it's not a 1-to-1 odd. It's not it absolutely will happen. Some people get lucky, but a lot of times, in my opinion, from medical records I've seen, everything if you don't have something bad. Stenosis, bad, really, really bad degeneration. If you can treat it with physical therapy so that you strengthen your core, you strengthen your body, while your spine or other issues like your knees, your elbows, whatever, your shoulder, while the rest of it has time to heal itself, your body can actually heal itself from a lot. You'd be surprised. So
yeah,
and it's not something that maybe it'll heal in a week. It could be I got to be in therapy 6 months, a year. But a lot of times it will help. And obviously the caveat is the younger you are, the easier you can bounce back. If you're going through all this at 60, it's a little more complicated because your body takes longer to heal. But I don't know, the body can heal itself from a lot of stuff. It's remarkable. So that's again, I've said before. I'll get on a soapbox. It's I think that insurance companies should definitely be fined for doing physical therapy versus just here's a big bottle of pills for you. It's no, we don't want to do that. That's not helping America.
A lot of the pill stuff was based on lies and bad science.
Oh yeah.
Too.
I am honest to God, straight up shocked that, the Sacklers weren't drug out into the street and strung up from lampposts, because what was that initial thing? It's like, oh no, OxyContin's fine. It's non-habit forming. And you're like, is it? Really? And they're like, yeah, sure.
God,
Don't
that's
look
like
into it.
That's like the Philip Morris commercials back in like the 50s, 60s. It's like a cigarette for the breakfast in the morning. It's
Yeah.
good for you.
No, it's
like,
good for you.
Oh no, no, it's not.
Yeah, no, they straight up said that shit. They were like, "Oh no, it's fine. It's yeah, OxyContin's non-habit forming, so it's fine. Don't worry about it." And then what you learn? They just lied bigger than shit. There were doctors who became addicts because here come the Purdue reps, and they're like, "Oh no, don't worry about it. It's not habit forming. Here, we'll give you a bunch of samples. You want a bunch of free samples? Give them to all the people that come to see you. Have some fucking samples." And they're like, "Oh, okay, well, it's not habit forming, cool." And it's like they just lied bigger than shit so that they could create an opioid crisis and have everybody hooked on it for a while. And it's like, how in the hell? Like, I know they find them like $1 billion, but they got like 5 billion more. How about instead of finding them $1 billion, could we? Sorry, I'm gonna stop.
I get I'm not defending them because they're evil motherfuckers, but I kind of get the. Sometimes if it's not malicious, I could see, but I don't know. It's
Dude, no, that was totally premeditated shit.
Yeah, they were just putting money above anything else. But I get the not finding them for everything in some cases, but they're evil motherfuckers, and I tend to agree with that. I can't believe they weren't drug out into the street and it just shot over that. And then there's also on top of them being evil motherfuckers, there's that asshole that lied about that Alzheimer's research that just flushed a decade plus of research down the toilet that was built upon his lies.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh no, that's not what it is at all." And everybody's like, "Oh, we'll start working on this then." And that was he was 100% lying about it. And it's like the jackass with the fucking vaccines cause autism study.
Yeah.
Like,
that is, especially when you think that that has probably caused the actual real life deaths of people, children, because parents go, "Oh, vaccines cause autism," and then you had what was that dummy Jenny McCarthy?
Jenny McCarthy, yeah.
It's like, "Oh, my kid has autism," and then I heard later on, it's like, "Oh, well, we cured his autism." It's like, hold up, you can't cure autism.
No.
Okay, it's an actual genetic. We don't fully understand it, but there's at least a genetic, I think, component to it. What causes it, I don't know. People don't know. For example, it's sure as fuck not vaccines, but you can't cure it. You can't cure it. You can manage it. You can teach people with autism, depending upon their level of severity, coping mechanisms and cognitive behavioral therapy can help improve them, but you can't cure it. So if your kid was cured of autism, he was never autistic to begin with. I don't know what was going on with your kid, but it's like she was pushing this whole study. It's like I'm sure children have died because people are like, oh, we're not going to vaccinate our kids. Vaccinate your kids. And if you want to be it's like, okay, this new vaccine for some rare illness came out, like COVID, and it's like, should we vaccinate our kids? I don't know. It's like, if you had a caution about a vaccine that was introduced 5 seconds ago, okay. If you're like, we're not going to vaccinate our kids for measles, it's like, oh, measles, the vaccine that we've had for decades, that I got when I was a baby.
Yeah.
And I'm 40 plus, and it wasn't like it was a new vaccine back in the day. We've had these vaccines forever. You're not those you think are like, oh, we can't trust that. You can't trust decades of science in some cases. Come on.
So
let's be real.
I went to a
realistic.
private. What's funny is I went to a private school. I went to a private religious school. I wasn't even allowed to go up to the junior high without having the MMR and like all the shots you needed. Like they like that school specifically, I had to be vaccinated to go there. And I think I think in Tennessee it's a state law. You can't go into their schools without being vaccinated.
Yeah, but hey, guess what? We can sure have a measles outbreak that's killing kids in Texas right now. So
The problem there is if it gets enough of a foothold, like it doesn't necessarily matter if you're vaccinated past the point. Because I know, what was it Ohio State had a couple years ago? I know Ohio State always has some like weird outbreak like that. It wasn't measles. What was it? It might have been measles. This was a couple years ago.
oh, because of the Amish populations, or
No, it was a college that
oh,
it was
okay.
going on at, but I don't remember what it was. What was it?
Well, God, it frustrates me to no end because the other thing about the Jenny McCarthy thing was, you know what her whole pitch was built on? She said, a mother's intuition. That's what she said on Oprah of all places, and I'm like, why did anybody listen to this?
Yeah.
Why did you why did you pay attention?
And with the Amish, it depends on the community because
Mhm.
some Amish communities might actually vaccinate because some of them are more liberalized than others with technology because like some of them have like modernized farming equipment, like some of them, especially for their businesses, have started to adopt computer accounting systems. It
Yeah.
depends on the and they have an interesting I can never pronounce it. They're fascinating to me, but I live like in Ohio. There's a lot of them, so I deal a lot. But they have I think it's Rick Spricken or something like that.
Rumspringa.
Yeah, so they let their children go out into like the real world for 2 years and experience the world. They can decide if they want to come back or not,
Hmm.
which I always find interesting. But yeah, their communities are very different. And the one thing I always have to correct people on because I'm like, well, I saw Amish, they'll do like a picture. I'm like, no, those are Mennonites.
There's conservative Mennonites and there's Amish, and they're not the same thing.
Yeah, because they'll be like, well, how do you know the difference? Like, because Amish, you can tell the Amish by their clothing, and you can tell Mennonites by their clothing. And like they're at the zoo, so one of them obviously drove a car.
See, the thing about my understanding, I will say that much. The thing about Amish life that as I understand it, is that it is about self-sufficiency. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, that's the big key to it, is that it's self-sufficiency. It's not, you know, we're afraid that the camera is going to steal our soul. It's about, can we support ourselves through this? And so they can hitch a ride somewhere from somebody else in somebody else's vehicle, and it's not a problem. I mean, when I worked at the battery shop, we had this dude come in, Amish dude, who had, no kidding, he had a bag phone that had a solar charger attached to it. Why could he use it? Because it was a self-sufficient thing. He could not replace it. He wanted to have the battery in that one replaced so that he could keep that one because it met the self-sufficiency thing.
Mm.
And you'll why are they're rolling in like, computer software for accounting stuff. How do they do that? They have generators. They run their own generators sometimes.
Oh yeah, like a lot of them have like more modernized farming equipment now and stuff too because it's sufficient, and that's like that goes by like it's by community. So there's not like an Amish like each community has their own like guidelines
Yeah.
for it. But there is a
The
funny
communities are called Ordnungs, and the really conservative ones are called Schwarzendruber Amish. There is a channel that is called Peter Santinello on YouTube, where he does a lot of exploration of stuff that doesn't get covered on the news, and he does a really good job. He is super respectful to everybody he talks to, um, and he's very neutral. He doesn't really espouse one thing or the other. He enjoys meeting new people. He's a really nice guy going out and trying to do this stuff. So um, I would say he's absolutely worth giving him a listen. but he has a few videos that do a dive into that sort of stuff.
So I have a funny Amish story for you guys. So, um, I was at a funeral and we were in the funeral procession, and this is like bumfuck nowhere in like northern Ohio. So we're in the middle of nowhere, and it's like a 2-lane road. Funeral procession, we get stuck behind an Amish buggy for 12 miles. And it was so bad. It was so bad that it turned this back road in the middle of nowhere red on Google. On the Google map.
I think my favorite joke when it relates to that sort of thing was, when you're driving by a horse and buggy, if you can take a softball and hit the orange triangle in the back, it'll drop them through the seat.
If you have a place near you and they have like there's a place in southern Ohio like where you can buy sandwiches and stuff there. Their pizza's like amazing. And the baked goods are awesome. Amish donuts are great.
There's an what purports to be, I assume they are, but in a Reading Terminal Market in Philadelphia, there's like a stand that is like an Amish donut stand. It's good. Chad, the thing I know about the Mennonites is fuck, can they run? Every last one of them can run.
Nappers. They run like the...
Now Mennonites...
don't need to go down the Letterkenny rabbit hole. It's too easy.
Now Mennonites...
Chad,
it's too easy.
Chad, you haven't lived until you've had Dick's meat in your mouth.
We have a lot of Mennonites around here too, but Mennonites are completely different. Like you'll see them driving like cars and stuff. So Mennonites are totally different.
Conservative Mennonites are different.
Yeah, because you'll be at the zoo and you'll see them pull up with their kids in like a van and stuff and do everything. So
okay, different. Here, disclosure. My mom grew up not conservative Mennonite, but she grew up Mennonite around conservative Mennonites and Amish. Like they're folks, okay? And maybe you don't like the way they live, and that's fine, but they're just folks. It's not a some people act like it's the biggest damn deal in the world, and it's like
I think the problem is for a lot of people, like they've never dealt with it. Like where I live, like you see it all the time. Like so it's just like like the worst thing like you'll think about the Amish, like, oh fuck, it's dark, I hope there's not a buggy out. Like that's the worst thing like when you're around them a lot, that's the worst thing you deal with is getting stuck behind a buggy on the road.
Well, but even if something happens, they can run.
Yes. Okay, so
Matt, you've unlocked this, and now I'm gonna be. Damn it.
Okay,
I'm sure Justin's getting a laugh now.
So we have a very serious topic for the next question out of the box. This is very serious. I want you to take it very seriously. This is totally serious, guys. So, who would win in a fight, Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster?
Well, if you go by celebrity deathmatch,
I was about to say you can't use. If you've never seen that, so it's a claymation show from the 90s. I think it came back in the aughts, but one of the first episodes was them. They're like, this match could go all night, and like Nessie just cuts Bigfoot in half with his tail, and that's the end.
Look, the thing I remember from that show, the fight I remember the most was Fiona Apple versus John Popper. And Fiona Apple breaks her arms and legs trying to kill John Popper. And then she stops and starts doing her reward exception. This world is bullshit. And everyone's like, kill her, John. And he just goes, got to give the people what they want. And rolls over because it's before he lost a bunch of weight.
I remember they had Vince McMahon versus Stone Cold on that because Stone Cold had a recurring. He was like an analyst on that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty big get for them.
Did he wrestle an alien on that too? I think Austin fought a couple times on that show. No, one of the announcers fought the alien. The color guy fought the alien.
The thing that
I think there's also like the Pharaoh versus Moses. I think that's one where he's like I cast on you my bodyguards jumping out of the crowd and beating you up.
The thing. Okay, back to the original question. The difficulty with this particular matchup is we are going to be at a loss for a particular piece of information. We don't know if the general consensus for Nessie is whether or not Nessie is strictly aquatic or amphibious. And so, if Nessie is amphibious, then we can have a scrap on the land. But if Nessie's strictly aquatic, then they're both completely at a disadvantage in each other's territory.
I don't
And
think. I think Nessie is. It'd be a plesiosaurus, right? Is what Nessie would be.
the, well, I mean,
Like
yes,
some of
but
those.
no, because that would be a
I mean-
reptile, and Loch Ness is cold as shit.
Well, I think Nessie would
Yeah.
be, from what I would imagine, Nessie would not get out of the water. Nessie would be totally aquatic.
People
Yeah,
always say like Nessie's a plesiosaur, but it's like they seem to base it on that one photo, which was proven years later as a hoax.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
fake.
Well, you know what's funny is that there was a last podcast on the left episode about this. So the first like modern sighting of Nessie was a guy driving home from watching King Kong, and like,
Yeah.
but they've also done, just as an aside, they've done like geological surveys of the area, and there's no possible way for that body of water to sustain something that large, and there's no channels for it to get in and out from a larger body of water.
No. There's no channels for it, and then there was the whole thing. Well, what if there's a channel that runs down the ocean? Then all the water would run out because it's a higher elevation than the ocean is.
Yeah.
I think
So,
I think like the Great Lake that Champ is in is actually large enough to sustain Champ, but I don't think there's any real evidence to Champ.
I actually, because I like studying cryptids and things like that. I think I can believe that some like North American like sea serpents or whatever, like lake monsters, like
Mhm.
Champ, or I think there's one like, isn't it like
Ogopogo
or
or
like
something.
British Columbia, Ogopogo? Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I think a lot of this is probably like sightings of sturgeon, because if you ever seen like sturgeon when they really get big, they are big. I mean, like there's a video I saw not like in the last year or two of a guy who like kind of caught one or was with one in like in one of the rivers,
Yeah.
and the sturgeon is bigger than him. Like it's like canoe sized.
Yeah.
And if you've ever seen like a sturgeon, they're prehistoric fish. Like they literally have like scale, like their scales are like armor.
Yeah.
Like they're almost like bony. They look almost like serpentine in the sense that the scales look kind of like armored and almost like serpentine. They're not. They're obviously the fish, but they're big, prehistoric, ugly looking things. I think it's a lot of this is like just mischaracterizations, because people see like these giant sturgeon swimming and they're like, oh my god, a sea serpent, and it's not.
I mean,
it's just
I
a
think
big fish.
there's some optical, like,
Yeah.
if you've never been out in like a large body of water or something, like, things can look a little weird.
Yeah. I can also believe, though, my theory, my like lake monster theory, is that some of the stuff, maybe like Ogopogo or whatever, I think it could be like an undiscovered or very large species of like eel, and that's why like it looks like a sea serpent. It's like they're just it's just a really big eel. Maybe eels as big as like people or very, very large. But I don't think it's like anything special. I think it's special in the sense that it may be like undiscovered and it may be very large, but I don't think it's necessarily like this relic, like Jurassic period.
I think it could be
like
driftwood
serpent creature.
I think it could be driftwood.
Well, that's most of that's probably that. But I mean, if you actually see something, the one like account that I actually did read about that I thought was interesting, because I said before, especially like when like we're talking like UFOs and like Bob Lazar or whatever, like whenever people give stories about seeing stuff and they're not making it fantastical, they're not doing it for clearly like you're doing this for fame or money. It's just like, I saw something weird, I can't explain it. Like this is what I saw. Shrug their shoulders and walk away. It's like, to me that's credible, because it's like there's no angle other than like, I saw something weird, I can't explain it. Here's my story. That's it.
Maybe somebody ought to look this up.
I have a theory about a lot of UFOs though, because I think a lot of those end up being experimental aircrafts. Like I think
Could be, yeah.
I think like a lot of them through like I don't know when they released it, but I honestly think like if you went back to like the 50s and the 60s and stuff, I bet
Mm,
you a good number of the ones in the United States were test runs of stealth bombers.
That would
probably.
make sense.
But go back real quick to my like monster story. I read a story where a guy who was like, I think it was like maybe it was like Ogopogo, whatever it was. I think it was like in the Pacific Northwest. It was a guy who was trying to set some sort of record for maybe like a triathlon or something, or swimming like the lake or channel, whatever. And as he was swimming, after the fact, he gave like where he said that part of during the swim, he was swimming, and then like 2/3 of the way in, he saw two creatures that were basically like sea serpents or like long serpentine creatures, and they were in the water, and they came up near him. They didn't bother him. They were almost like they were curious. They didn't know what he was. They came close to him as he was swimming. He got a little freaked out. It's like, what the hell is this? They saw him. They just swam off, and he just finished it and whatever. But he gave the story. It's like, yeah, I saw this stuff. They were real creatures. I don't know what they were, but it was weird. And that was it. And it's like it was something I saw like buried, and it wasn't sensationalized, whatever. He's just like, yeah, dude, I saw this. It was real, and I don't know what it was. They didn't bother me, but I thought it was weird. And to me, that's like okay, and that kind of fits with my like maybe they're just weird big fish that he saw, and it's like that's the end of it. It's not. It may be unique in that maybe we haven't discovered them, and they're of a big size, but they're probably just normal. They're not. There's nothing more special than that. Which I guess that could be special. If an undiscovered animal would be special, but
Yeah.
So I think there's a key to this fight we do need to consider though. So does Bigfoot have tree fitty?
I just need to fit
You-
What's
I'm
all
gonna
as
say
a
Bigfoot is
crustacean
the
from
resident
the
Bigfoot
Paleolithic
fan.
era?
yeah. God, that
It's
joke.
damn
has-
Loch Ness monster.
Damn Loch Ness. That stupid joke lodged in my head from the first day it happened,
My
and
favorite
it has stayed there ever since.
My favorite is a meme someone did. I need to find the picture where they're playing Pokemon Go and it's a Lapras and he's holding the money out to the Lapras, which is a giant sea Pokemon. If you haven't seen it, it's hilarious.
That's great.
But that joke, I never get tired of that joke.
We had to do a thing at we were doing a workshop at work, and part of it was okay, we got to work this budget up, and anywhere that I had the discretion I thought I could get away with it, I set the number to either $3.50 or $350, and nobody said anything, but I had a nice chuckle to myself every time. And they go, okay, so how much is that one? I go, about $350. Okay, $350 it is. And it made me sad that nobody got it a little bit, but it also it made me happy.
South Park's ruined a lot of things for me.
Mickey Mouse. I can't hear Mickey Mouse anymore without hearing him beating up the Jonas Brothers.
We have a problem.
You're gonna do what I tell you to, haha.
Like
And I'm like, that's Disney now, that's everything.
or I always do the "Do you know what I am saying?" and no one gets the joke.
Yes, I know what you are saying. You don't have to keep asking me.
There's some butterisms, or I always say cheeseburgers, or is it hamburgers?
Oh, hamburgers. Yeah. No, Butters is my wife's favorite character.
If anyone says per se, I lose my shit every time if they say that because of Butters the vampire.
Yeah, the vampire kids. Perthay.
And I do man bear pig sometimes in the wild. I'll say man bear pig stuff.
Yeah. So the other answer, well, the other question is, are we doing it by what is quote unquote real world rules, or are we doing Dresden Files rules? Because that can change the fight between Bigfoot and Nessie.
So would that mean Bigfoot has supernatural powers?
I'm the resident Bigfoot fan, so I'll say Bigfoot. But yeah, I forgot that there's like Bigfoot is there's like a race of Bigfeet in Dresden Files, I think. Yeah.
Yep, and there you get into the culture. They have different paths for how they behave and that sort of stuff.
I haven't read a lot of the later stuff, so is there like an evil Bigfoot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Sure
I think that
enough.
was like a Genosqua or whatever, like that.
Yeah, the Genosqua.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
100%.
in Bigfoot lore, like that is like a type of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
They're like the
Well,
evil ones.
and
Ugh.
the the there's the 3 short stories of working for Bigfoot. And then you've got you've got that, and then whenever you get to Changes is when the Genosqua shows up. And then you get a few books. No, it's not Changes, it's Skin Game. I'm sorry. Changes. What am I doing? What's wrong with me? When you get to Skin Game is when the Genosqua shows up, and then after that you get a little more information from River Shoulders. And it's the Bigfoot. River Shoulders is one of my dad's favorite characters in the series. So
I think the problem Bigfoot would have in general is the Nessie would just be way out of Bigfoot's weight class.
Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, the Dresden Bigfoot, they know magic, and they know magic in a way that's like scary, but they're also just absurdly patient. So, but then again, Nessie is in Scotland, not that far from Edinburgh, where there's a bunch of ley line convergences. So who knows? Nessie may be getting some juice from some ley lines. Hard to tell. Hasn't been established yet.
I do think, in the general sense of, there's no possible chance that the Loch Ness monster exists. I think there is a small, very minuscule percentage chance that Bigfoot could potentially exist, because if the Pacific Northwest is very dense and wild, so I think, like, there's no evidence that Bigfoot exists. Like, even the famous what's the name
Shoemaker
of
film?
Yeah.
Patterson Gimlin film.
Yeah.
Oh,
that,
you're right.
That's
film.
that's
I
an,
think it was Shoemaker.
like, when people online still pretend that's real, those guys admitted it's fake.
Yeah.
Like, decades ago. So there's not like any real evidence of like Bigfoot.
No. My favorite Bigfoot thing, though, I think it was a Mitch Hedberg joke, but it may have been someone else's. What if Bigfoot is just blurry?
That's funny.
Yeah.
That would explain a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think if Bigfoot did exist, like, let's pretend, like, for a second, maybe Bigfoot did exist. It would not be like anything like people would think it is. It's just going to be like some, probably not even a large, like, North American ape. It's just what it would be.
Yeah.
A relic
Yeah.
hominid.
Well, and Bigfoot stretches further than people realize too, because there's legends of Bigfoot all the way into the Appalachian Mountains, where he was kind of referred to it Woolly Booger or something like that. And
Woodburger.
It depends on where in the mountains you are.
Okay.
Sometimes it's Wood Booger, sometimes it's Woolly Booger.
To me,
Maurice
like, a
wants
thing
to know
that
if Nessie would have an advantage from having more names in Dresden Files.
Would he have more? I don't know.
Would that give him more power, is what he's asking.
No, it would not give him more power. What it would do is it would make him harder to control, because you would have to have all the aspects of the true name. I know that seems pedantic, but that's, by my understanding, that's how it's going to shake out.
I think I'm going to take Nessie just based on pure bulk.
Yeah, I mean, I would feel Nessie just because Nessie would have a very large size advantage. Like, even a small Nessie would probably be like as big as like a car, a truck.
It'd probably,
Like,
yeah,
it
I
would
was
be
going
a
to
small one.
say,
Yeah.
a small Nessie would probably still be grizzly bear sized. Probably even bigger than,
Yeah,
I would
probably.
still say, I would say like
mean-
a small Nessie would probably still be weighing in at 700 to 800 pounds, and I think a standard
I
like
feel like bigger than that.
Well, but I'm saying, and then I'm thinking like if we're really generous and say Bigfoot's really big, we'll say 350 pounds for Bigfoot at the max. Like, and we're being really generous with Bigfoot. And I think you're probably talking about a small Nessie would probably be more like 1,200 pounds.
Oh, sorry, I got that wrong. So you're like a Bigfoot. Yeah, Bigfoot
Bigfoot
would
at
be at least like
max.
probably the size of like a grizzly.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Bigfoot would probably be like 350 at his top, and I would say like the smallest Nessie would still be like 700 or 800, probably more like 1,000, which is a big disparity.
Yeah, that's a pretty wide swing.
Yes. And then for the final question is the rage question of the evening.
Hmm.
So, who should Swerve have won on Sunday? And the answer is yes, he should have won. But we can go from there because I was not happy with that ending.
He should have won.
This angle should be killed with fire.
There are people who will defend it. I guess the strongest defense, I suppose, would be that it's not actively like tanking the ratings,
Yet.
but it's
That's
pretty clear. Well, that's a good point. Yeah,
that's the problem with that argument is it's not tanking the ratings yet.
Well,
And yet
okay.
would be italicized and bolded when you and underlined 3 times.
Here's the thing: the ratings are on the way up, but that does not mean that it's because of the Death Riders angle.
And I think there's a strong argument that it's despite the Death Riders.
Here's the thing: could they have done that then? Sure. Am I that bent out of shape about it at the moment? I'm not, because almost everything else on the card has made me happy enough that I'm really not that hacked off about it. With the exception of the Hurt Syndicate, and I'm really not digging that. But we've got everything else is going fine. And could it be better? Could this be more compelling? Could there be more stuff happening? Sure, 100%, no question. But you know what? There's enough. I've got enough goodwill from everything else that I'm like, all right, let's see where it goes. I mean, it could very well be Osprey's going to take it. Osprey goes to the Owen and takes it. It could be Hangman goes to the Owen, goes to face Mox, and then Swerve backs Hangman up because of what happened. Okay, that'd be cool too. It could be that Eddie Kingston shows up and backfists the living shit out of Mox, and then Mox is like, I can't let you get away with that, and Eddie beats the hell out of him. I don't know. But I'm happy enough with the rest of the shows in general that I'm not going to be mad about it. You know, could this be better? Sure. Could, I'm not, that doesn't bother me over much, if that makes any sense.
I'm not as negative as people were like Sunday night and Monday about it, but I am. I may not be as negative as Brad is, but I am of the sort that it's like it's been going on a long time. I don't think the Death Riders angle has been good. To me, the problem is there doesn't seem to be a clear like end point.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh, okay. Other than it's like, it seems very much because the way it was booked from the beginning is that Tony Khan he wants it to be Darby winning the title from Mox. The problem with that, of course, is that Darby's gone for like months and won't be back for months more. So it's like, are you gonna have Mox just hold the title until like September when it's like all out,
But all
or
out,
like
all ends,
October Wrestle Dream?
all ends in July, and
Yeah,
I think.
I
Look, Darby's probably on the mountain right now. Like we're in the early. He's probably been there. I
he
have
might
some
be.
friends who just came back from Everest. I've had. I've been digging back into the Everest. I had to read Into Thin Air the summer before I went to college. Like he's probably been over there getting used to
Acclimating.
it. Yes, that word.
Hmm.
Acclimatizing might also be another way. Whatever. He's probably already been over there doing that. So he's probably going to be on the first one, the first trek, up. And then you go up and you come down, and the actual going up and down the mountain part takes place in a relatively short amount of time. So I feel like that there is a incredibly wide window when we could see him back. I don't know, um, but the I
But I,
don't think that this is going to run. I don't think that that particular angle is going to run all the way to Wrestle Dream or something like that.
it can't. But even
I've been
I will
saying
say, like,
Double
even
or
if even it,
Nothing is too long since
it
January,
oh
and
yeah,
they're gonna go to Double or Nothing. So
it even if the if chat, let's work with that premise. Like it's still, it could be, it still could still be Darby, and it may not be that long. It's like I also have at this point problems if it's Darby, because it's like you will have been gone for months. It's like, what, you're gonna like now come back, and then they maybe within the span of like a month or two heat you back up again to then have a title match and win the title.
well,
Like, I guess, but
I've also seen a
I
number of not shills or bots, but like actual fans saying, "I'm gonna be so pissed at Darby Allin if they're subjecting me to this shit because he climbed that mountain and they're keeping it warm for him." Like, so they could even get a backlash if people realize they got subjected to this shit angle for an extra 3 months
look,
because of him.
I like Darby. I'm a Darby fan. There are people I've seen online who are like, he should never hold the world title for this bullshit. Like, he chose climbing Everest versus the title. And it's like, look, in one sense, I get it. It's like, Darby's not old. He's only like 30, a little over 30. So it's like, this is a real life world experience that you're going to do that you can think about for the rest of your life versus like a wrestling title, a wrestling accomplishment, which would be good, but it's also like, okay, like
Yeah,
he's even said, like, it's like, I'm not planning to have like a long wrestling career, which maybe he will if people change their minds. But I mean, he certainly wrestles like he's gonna
yeah.
horrifically injure himself. He's not gonna do this when he's 50. Point is, like, I can get, it's like the real life person that is Darby Allin could be like, dude, I'm only young for so long. I had this opportunity to climb Mount Everest. I want to do it. It's a lifelong dream or whatever. Okay, so I'm not so negative that it's like, fuck this guy. He chose like he didn't choose AEW. It's like, he's a real life person. It's like some things are bigger than like even your job, even if your job is like really unique and special. At the same time, it's also like I narratively don't like, he's gone for months and then he comes back and then they quickly like put him in the main title scene and he wins the title. Like, I wouldn't want that in general.
It
Versus
it's bad
they put the title
timing.
on Swerve or Osprey or Hangman Page, because that's the problem. It's like with a lot of this, people wanted Swerve because Swerve's very popular and everything,
And
but it's also like
he
people would
kind of
probably
had a
accept
lot of
Osprey.
he had a lot of momentum going into that too. I feel like.
Yeah, but people would want it other than Mox, because like that's I agree with you, Brad, that it's like, well, it hasn't hurt the ratings yet, because I think there's a lot of acts that are on the undercard that are really over and people want to see, including like Hurt Syndicate. Chad, I know like you're not a fan of that, but they're over. They're really over. They're popular.
I think
Yeah.
because
Like, there's a lot of acts at AEW. That's why it's clicking with AEW. But the top is kind of like a drag.
and that's 3 shows in a row where they've ended 3 pay-per-views in a row where they've ended on a real downer now, which you can only do for so long. And I think
I could
WCW
honestly see.
that you can only have a crap main event so long before it drags the whole product down.
I think Swerve has elevated himself, so you didn't put the world title on him. He should again at some point get the world title. Hangman Page is someone who you should probably sooner rather than later put the world title on him, because he held the title like 2 years ago at this point, and it's like he's a guy that he's still young. Like he should be like your franchise guy, and not to be all like Trish and Sarah podcast where they're Hangman Page ultra fans, so they're gonna push him. I get it, but
He's 3 years removed
do something
from
with him.
the title reign now.
Yeah, I mean, I could also see if I could fantasy book this, because I've talked about how you should maximize him potentially because he may not have too much left in the tank, but I could see a scenario where maybe at Double or Nothing, since that's the next one, you do have Will Ospreay, because I think he's like the number one contender, like because he won the.
No,
No,
he's
he's
in
gonna-
the
he's
O1.
not.
He's probably
He's in
gonna
the
win
O1.
O1. Okay,
Yeah.
he's probably gonna win the O. Yeah, so I think I'm skipping ahead of myself. If you assume he's gonna win the Owen, then it's like, okay, if he's the number one contender, then you could have him win at Double or Nothing, and then maybe in the meanwhile, like at All In, it's gonna be Okada versus Kenny Omega. Maybe you build towards Ospreay, Kenny Omega at some point, and then let's say by the end of the year, maybe Full Gear or something, World's End, so at some point. And then maybe Kenny Omega wins the title because it's like this is going to be his last big run with the title. Maybe you do that. That's fantasy booking. But I mean, in some respects, AEW is in a good position in that you could put the title back on Omega. You could have Ospreay have a title for a while. You also have Hangman Page, like you have Swerve. You have got even MJF. You could bring MJF back again, as long as you don't do the goofy brochachos type of stuff again. But the Mox thing is like, I don't think you need it. It's not working.
It hasn't been working. I don't know why
what this
they're.
is.
I think the problem is like I think the thing with Darby's a little extreme, like you said, like about never putting the world title on him for that, because I think it's bad timing. That's what I'll blame him for. Like he maybe should have delayed it because they were planning this. But the other thing is, he's been pretty obvious for about a year he was planning to do this. So why the fuck would you plan to put the belt on him when you don't know what's going to happen?
Why would you do that? Yeah, why would you make that plan knowing there was going to be this gap? And it may have been, it's like, well, we thought this was going to go better than it was. Like, okay, dude, let's plant a foot and pivot then.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that, and people have brought this up, and I agree with them, is that Darby, or if you want to do like a returning Eddie Kingston, like you can have Darby come back to feud with Mox, or Eddie Kingston step in, because Eddie Kingston on social media has been like, I don't recognize AEW, meaning like, Mox and Death Riders like running rampant. You could have either one of those guys feud with the Death Riders and Mox. At no point do you need the title involved. You don't need the title involved.
Yeah.
For that.
That's what I was getting ready to say is just like Darby was kind of doing the sting roll against the NWO with the Death Riders. Darby was consistently in their face and blindsiding them all the time and running them off.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the title's off of Mox does not mean the Death Riders necessarily go away. They might still be out there jacking stuff up because, now they're pissed that this happened, so they're going to get their revenge on everybody.
And it might
and then lights go out, you have the guitar kick in, and all of a sudden here comes Darby flying down the ramp with the skateboard just wiping people out. And he's the one that ends the Death Riders. Like, you can absolutely do that.
Well, and it might help the angle for them for Mox not to have the title, because it can take some of that pressure off and fans can like loosen up a bit. And it can be not as in their face, but it can make it a little safer to not hate it as much because, well, at least it's not the main event. And I think the other problem they're going to run into, and I think they're at now after this, is what is even Will Ospreay or Darby Allin going to get out of beating Moxley if he's ice cold as a champion?
Yeah.
Oh, it'd still be a huge pop because that means that this version of Mox isn't holding the belt anymore.
But I mean, I don't think
people are going to love it.
but I mean, I don't think you get anything from that in the long term though, because you're gonna get that pop of, oh, thank God this fucking angle's over with. But I don't know necessarily how much they get long term from that. Like it's different than like beating like a heel champion on top of like that's on a hot run, you know?
So here, let me pitch this as an idea. Let's just say that they really want to use this as an opportunity to elevate Darby and cement him. Does that mean that Mox has to hold the title the entire time? Or could someone beat him and he wins it back and it becomes this, like, oh no, I'm not going anywhere until Darby basically kills them off? Because then you've introduced this tension back in of he could lose or he could not. And it's not the monotony that I've seen some people talk about.
I don't know why he couldn't have just beaten Swerve or anyone for the title and just have his big comeback. And you can come up with a challenge reason for it. Like it doesn't have to be the Death Riders. That's just kind of like the problem with Tony Khan booking. Like we're in this, like, and I mean we're kind of doing it too because we're kind of trying to work with what they're doing. But it's like, why would Darby Allin need to be involved with the Death Riders? Like, why do the Death Riders even need to continue to exist for like them to go forward? Like, you can kill it off then and bring Darby back and have a new issue, or just have him be like, hey, thanks for keeping that belt warm for me. I'm back to take it. Like,
I think the aspect of that is that, like I said, you had Darby taking the fight to them, and then them busting him up and putting him out is, if he comes back and isn't looking for revenge on somebody for it, you're like, and
I mean, you can do that with people individually, but I think there's a point. I think what I'm saying is there's a point where you're just gonna like, I don't know. You're beating a dead horse, and you're just kind of like, you're sinking. You're falling into. I think there's a point where you fall into sunk cost fallacy, and like you're in this like Darby has to get his revenge on the Death Riders, and it's like, but then people are like, you have people like me where it's like, I literally don't want to see another Death Rider on my TV ever again. And I think that contingent's getting larger and larger. So I don't like, I get what you're saying with the narrative purpose of it. But if there's a lot of people like me and that's becoming a large portion of your fan base, does that do any good for Darby for it to make logical sense if everyone's just like, oh my God, just get rid of these fucking Death Riders already? Like,
see, here's the thing. After the Death Rider angle ends, I suspect that everybody who is in that squad is going to have a vacation. Because how do you go from that angle just back into everything else without having a break to it?
well, I mean, I was my problem with it. My big problem with Death Riders is, I was sick to death of the Blackpool Combat Club by the time last year. And to me, the Death Riders is just the Blackpool Combat Club with a new hat, essentially.
I didn't have a problem with Blackpool Combat Club, but
I liked it. I just thought it was too long in the tooth, and I was bored of it. So Death Riders just feels like they rebranded it as something else while still being the same thing. So that's why I think I've been so pissed off about it the whole time.
They rebranded it, but also it's like someone has really like critically been like, oh, Josh Barnett just ruined Mox, because it's like they rebranded Death Riders as like a more serious like shoot style Josh Barnett Bloodsport type of raps as serious business like type of faction. But the problem with it, and we talked about this on the show before, but people have discussed it from the very beginning, it's like you want to present it as like this hardcore, like real violent group, and then you're also doing just classic heel shit where it's like you're having a match and then there's like tons of interference by the Death Riders. Like, you're not even like
run-ins.
we're serious badasses. It's like it's equivalent, and this is like for people who watch New Japan Pro Wrestling and everything. This is Death Riders has become essentially the AEW equivalent of like House of Torture.
so
It's House of Torture. It's evil. having a match with someone, and then there's like 20 million like
where
interferences or
where the
run-ins,
crowd stops watching
and
the
it just
match
gets tired.
when things
Yeah,
start hitting like a high point, the crowd stops looking at the match and starts watching the entranceway because they're waiting to see who's going to run in.
yeah,
And then you're like, and this is the problem I have. It's like the match is going and they fought a bunch of it off, and it's like, wait a minute, like Marina Shafir's not out here yet, or oh, Pac's not out yet. It's like, oh, I'm not safe because there's going to be more interference. That's the world you don't want to live in with matches, where like that's your thought process
Yeah.
of like,
Yeah.
oh, I haven't seen Marina Shafir yet. That means this match isn't going to end until she gets her interference in.
So, I think now my perception of the Death Riders is not that they're the shoot style. It's basically a gang of thugs who are wanting to exert their power. And so what do? You know, they act big and bad, and then they dogpile someone when it suits them, and that sort of like. I'm, I guess, softer on the approach to this. Could it, could it, could it end any time, and I'd be okay with that? Hell, I loved the idea of Powerhouse Hobbs being the guy that took the belt off of Mox. I loved that idea. Am I to the point where I'm actively pissed about it? No, but
I'm
I understand people like me aren't really expressing that opinion a whole lot because we're like, eh.
My reaction to it is the Hank Scorpio with the flamethrower gif.
Hmm.
That's my attitude towards it.
just burn it all down.
Yes, while
We
laughing.
we haven't we haven't we haven't even discussed the bigger implication if they follow it up, which they may not, of Mox retaining at Dynasty, is that he retained because the Bucks came back and attacked Swerve. So it's like,
Mhm.
are we going to see the Bucks, the Elite, the Bucks and Okada, like now associating or teaming with the Death Riders, or is
Oh
that
God,
just going to be
please
dropped?
no.
Because
Please
well,
no.
basically what this seems to be a setup for is that based on the interactions we saw at the last Dynamite before Dynasty, where Hangman and Swerve almost like had a moment together because
Mhm.
they're almost fighting with each other because they hate each other
Yeah.
in canon. But then because they're going back at each other, it's like Hangman's like, you broke into my house, and Swerve was like, you burned down my house, and Hangman's like, you deserve it. And Swerve goes, I know.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's actually great character development,
Oh
but
yeah.
that seemed what people are saying on, and I agree. It seems to be with the Bucks is that they're setting up Swerve and Hangman having a tag team match against the Bucks at Double or Nothing, which is probably going to be the case. But what does that mean? Are the Bucks associated with Death Riders? And some people are saying that because remember, Death Riders, not that they ran off the Elite, but they kind of like the Death Riders took in the Elite were like leaving, and Death
Mhm.
Riders became kind of like resurgent after that. People are speculating that the Elite tried to take over AEW, which is what was the storyline. And when that failed, then they maybe are like the power behind the scenes of the Death Riders. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to be connected.
I'm
I feel
sure
like they need to be narratively connected because it's like, why else would you attack Swerve and save Mox?
we'll
Yeah.
know in 3 weeks when the Bucks are contractually obligated to show up again.
That again, that's the bullshit. I love the Bucks. Bucks are in the running for best tag team of all time, but that was the bullshit. We talked about this on the show. It's like, don't, like, the Bucks would show up, have like a match or an angle, and it's like they show up 3 weeks later. And I have gone on to like AEW's, the nonsense AEW was pulling. It's like, that was shit. I felt that they were a lot better narratively and booking wise in 2024. But to the extent that they still had issues. The biggest issue to me was like, you need to be consistent. And one of the things that's easy to be consistent is like, if you had a hot angle or a good match or whatever, like, follow it up the next week. not like 3 weeks later. That's something that WWE is running into issues with now.
I can't.
We
I
talked
still,
about
yeah, I
in
still
recent
can't believe they.
in recent time we talked about the Cena turn. It's like, oh my God, Cena turned to this pay-per-view. Wow, let's talk about it and see his reaction 3 weeks from now. It's like, no. I understand he's a Hollywood actor. He's busy doing Hollywood stuff. You got to get him on like the next like Raw, like
Yeah.
the next
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
to like
That's-
do a promo, whatever.
That's a big
Not
problem
like
I have
3
with
weeks
the.
later.
That's the big problem I have with the Bucks thing. Is like, okay, I might be interested, but based on their last run, like I'm not that excited about it. Like if you could guarantee me they're gonna show up every week until the angle's done, okay, I might be excited about it. But if it's gonna be like
also think they didn't
last
show up.
time, where they're
They didn't show up every week. They didn't show up
Yeah.
every week, and then it's like, why? People are ranking on them, and then it's like, oh well, they're new. The deals they signed, the new deals, like they only have a limited number of dates. It's like, then fucking be like, do what they've done, where it's like, oh, we like lost the tag titles, we're gonna disappear for like 4 months. Okay, that's fine. If you only have like we're contractually obligated to only do like 30 dates. Okay, then let's do the 30 dates the next like 6 months, and we
Yeah.
could do a proper angle,
And
and then
when
you can
you-
fuck off for six months.
Yeah.
You can like go take
That's-
powder,
so that's
refresh
the thing,
yourself.
Is like, so are they gonna show up every week, or is it gonna be like Double or Nothing? They're gonna show up 2 times on TV, and I'm supposed to be excited for like a tag match. Like that's
So,
my issue
you
with them
can't-
coming back.
You really
here's-
can't do that. I mean,
Well,
you
here's
can't-
my,
they may, but
Here's my tinfoil hat theory about that. Is that the original plan last year was certain number of dates, they weren't going to come back, but Sting for his retirement wanted to work with the Bucks specifically. That he wanted his retirement match to involve them. Well, you're not going to say no, and so they're like, well, we'll try and get something out of it. I
Then pay them extra. If
am
they're gonna
hopeful
work extra
hopeful.
dates.
that now here we are, effectively a new year, and we will get what Matt just said, where it's like, if you've got a certain number of dates, we're going to run this angle through, and then they'll be gone for a while. But we won't know yet. This is conjecture. So
I hate to be like super pessimistic, but like they're gonna have to prove to me they have that kind of discipline and foresight to do that properly before I'm gonna be like think they're gonna do that right. Like I just like last year was just astonishing how like if they show up every week, like I might like if they show up for like the next couple weeks, I'll probably loosen up on that. But if this is going to turn into another thing where I'm not going to see them until like 2 weeks from now, like then I don't care. Like,
we'll
that's
just have to see.
Yeah, but like that's I don't know. And I kind of like I still like the Bucks, but I was also kind of like getting back into the TV because like the roster felt fresh and different, and that was kind of getting me back invested. And like the Bucks came back, and I'm just kind of like, like this is just like they're scaling it up again. Because that's the funny thing. That's the funny thing to me with like WWE like signing like Rusev and Tommy End and stuff back, and it's just like I don't know if like if I was a WWE fan if I'd be excited because like they've been on TV for like a lot the last couple years. It just feels like you just signed a bunch of old guys back onto your roster that are kind of stale.
Yeah.
Well, well, and this is also we're now running into like the reverse issue that AEW had like a while back. Now WWE has it where it's like it actually makes sense for Tony to release some of these guys because it's like there's only so much time and space in WWE for them, and what are they really going to matter?
And they're
Like-
getting older. They're getting older. They're stale. Like I just think
The
that
Lucha Brothers are going to be stars, but it's also like, what are you going to do with them? Are they going to win the world title? Like the report is apparently Rey Fenix he just debuted, and it's like, oh, he's going to feud with Andrade. It's like, oh, so you're just doing the Triple H playbook where the Mexican guy feuds with the other Mexican guy.
I don't
Okay.
I don't know if I'd probably get
Okay.
I made a joke in the Discord that was a little off color about it that I don't know if I can say it on YouTube about Triple H's attitudes towards that.
I was going to say, hey, guess what? We get to have that Mid-card Rampage match again on Raw.
Look,
Ain't we?
well, let's also, I mean, to talk about Triple H's booking, it's like you had the New Day, meaning Kofi and Xavier, turn heel early this year. What's been done with that?
And
Oh,
pissed
nothing.
it away.
They did that. You know,
Pissed
Oh,
it away.
and no one. Oh, and no one cares anymore because you did it like 12 weeks ago,
and
and
you know
then
what's
did
funny is
nothing
followed
with
they.
it up.
You know what's funny is they did the exact same thing with Cena. That's two like hot heel turn angles they did this year and did nothing with it. And they kind of did nothing
Nothing.
with They didn't follow up on like that Jacob Fatu like beat down a Braun Strowman. They kind of because that's
Oh,
the thing.
no.
That's the thing that's like with WWE this year is they've done three things that like got my interest with hot angles, and that I like was complimentary about them doing it, and then they didn't follow up on them at all. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is why they never get me back.
But that's a point people were making in the last couple of days. And some people are very pessimistic. I'm not as pessimistic, but I commiserate with them. Is that people are saying, and I think they're right, that the build up and the booking for Mania this year has been bad, and it has
Oh,
been.
it's been bad.
So WWE is like,
It might be
and
bottom
even people who are like
five build-ups all time.
people who are WWE and or slash CM Punk's strongest soldiers, like Ibu on Backup Hangman on Twitter, even he is turning. It's like, no, like everyone has like bookers have a time limit, they have a shelf life, and Triple H's has basically run out, and Tony Khan's like he went through his bad period. He's like on the upswing again. Wait, I think there's truth to that.
You know what? You know what else
again,
Ibu got a
I'm
lot of shit for? Is he called out
what?
Trick Williams as not developing and sucking in the ring, and that he's not working out, and people lost
That's
their
unfortunately
minds.
that's unfortunately pretty true.
Ibu, I think Ibu's a clown, but like, it's always funny. Like when it's just funny the dissonance on Twitter, because anytime he like actually nails something on the head is when like he gets just dogpiled for it.
That he's frustrating to me because he clearly does. Some of his points actually do make a lot of sense.
He's a real fan.
So
Like,
it's
I'll
like,
give him
okay,
that. Like, I think he's a clown, but like
yeah,
when he like you
but
he
that's
cared.
that's my problem with him. It's like I have a love-hate relationship with him in the sense that he is a real fan, and it's like sometimes you get it. So it's like you get it to the point where I think like at the end of the day, some of the clown takes you make are because while you are a real fan of wrestling, you also just like WWE slash Punk.
It's
So
I
you
think it's an
give
access
them
thing
more
for
leeway than they deserve.
I think he's also on that WWE pipeline of
Yeah.
access, so where they keep him in line, and he can go like he deviates just enough because he's a real fan, but then you have to like kind of have to bring it back in a little bit because you'll lose your
Yeah.
access.
But yeah, he's made that point that WWE is like kind of maybe on the downward swing, and I feel they are. AEW is rising, but people were saying like, yes, this is a scenario, and then AEW is kind of like pissing that away because you could have had like a hot angle putting the title on Swerve, building on that, and instead you've continued the Mox Death Rider stuff at the top of the card, and now you've interjected like the Bucks again, who seem to just be doing the heel characters they did a few months back. So there's not really like something fresh there. So I don't know that it's like some people doom and gloom. It's like, well, AEW could have reclaimed it and they haven't. Now they're gonna like fail again, and it's like I don't know that it's like that, but
They're never gonna
I
be
get that it's
number
like
one.
this was an opportunity that they could keep building, and maybe they still will. But I feel this was like you could have done something with Swerve as champ, even if the long-term plan isn't him as champ, because you got a lot of guys, Osprey, Page, Omega, a lot of guys you could put the title on. But
I think their business.
I don't think it's as dire as people are saying, but it's like I do think like you should just end this Death Riders Mox experiment. It's not working.
I do think it's interesting how bad the Mania build's been, and how Like other than like if you go to Reddit where it's all shills now, but like just
Let,
the
hold on.
general consensus, even like among Fed pillars, is like, man, it sucks this year.
Look, Mania's 2 nights because they'll especially now with TKO taking over, they're gonna have a death grip on that 2 night pay-per-views. Those 2 night pay-per-views are only gonna expand
Well, it's because
like in the
you gotta
future.
sell those seats twice.
Oh yeah, you gotta get record profits. People need to take a small loan to attend your shows.
Yeah, and
But
I'm of the opinion, and
but
I've said it about New Japan. If AEW ever tried to do it, I would be right there to say the same thing. 2 night events suck. They ruin the specialness. You should not do them. They are a net detriment to any product that does 2 night events.
AEW's the nice thing that they've done is by having, if they have Collision on a Saturday and a pay-per-view on a Sunday, then Collision acts as a nice lead-in for it. But that means that the 2 night events always means the first night's the lead into the second.
But that's
Yeah.
It's not as special.
but that's not a 2 night event though, because that's just TV, and you can
But you know what I'm saying.
yeah. I see that as different though. I just see that as scheduling because like Collision's not going to be a pay per view. Like you can skip Collision, but like 2 nights of Mania is trying to force you to watch 2 nights.
I wanted to bring that up though. Maybe it's like what, next weekend
No, it's 2 weeks.
or 2 weeks from now?
It's Easter.
God, it's late. But
yeah, it's real late.
God,
But-
why would you do that?
the point is, like, it's 2 weeks from now. You want to do a 2 night show, 2 weeks, 2 nights. Sorry, 2 nights of shows. I'm sure each show is going to be like 4 hours long, 5 hours. If you do like pre-show, whatever. Don't they only have like 6 matches or something announced? It's like maybe that's all you have since you want to do like 4 match shows. But
There's
it's like
I have-
really under. Like they haven't announced jack shit for something that's even like 2 weeks out.
and they're doing like well, I think there's gotta be matches because they're doing that women's tag title match where they're like throwing like junk tag teams together, like Natalia and Maxine Dupree. I can't believe they're still having her wrestle, but like I couldn't tell you what most of them are.
I'm looking this up right now.
Okay, because I mean, the only thing really
Oh. So I guess they now have like 11 matches announced.
okay, what do we got?
So night 1, the main event is Roman Reigns versus CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. Which again, sorry Phil. The main event of night 1 of the buy one get one free 4-night extravaganza
Yeah,
is not the main event.
No, it's
Despite
not.
what you're the final match of the show, but not the main event of WrestleMania. So
No.
I'm sure he'll pat himself on the back that he got a WrestleMania main event. But it's like, no, you didn't.
You
Miz did.
mentioned the
Miz
Tristan
did.
Shera thing earlier, and how hard they were laughing at him fake crying when he was signing the contract about getting his
Oh, yeah.
Mania main event.
Yeah.
I have no interest in that match. Like if it was straight up, I don't like him, but like if they just did that straight up like Roman Reigns or CM Punk, I'd be like, I don't care. But like that's at least an intriguing matchup. But then they throw
Yeah.
Seth Rollins in, and it's like, okay, well Seth Rollins is just there to eat a pen for someone.
I will say this: the last year, even like hardcore Fed fans have turned on Roman Reigns because it was announced like by wrestling media that after Mania, like Roman Reigns is going to take a break. He'll be back in the summer, and even hardcore Fed fans are like pushed like question mark. It's like for what? And it's like they've turned on him so much because it's like between Mania this last year and this year, it's like how many matches did you wrestle Roman? Like 5, if that. Like he barely showed up
He
to be
only
like,
has,
oh,
like-
I'm gonna take a break. Like
Why are they
break
shocked?
from what? Like I wish I had a job that I could show up like a handful of times in a year.
Why are they shocked?
Yeah,
He's been working like very low single. Like he's been working 10 to 12 matches a year for like 4 years. Why are these people surprised that he's
When they
not?
were doing the whole storyline about how like, oh, you should hate Brock Lesnar 'cause
Yeah.
he's a part timer. Brock Lesnar was doing more matches than Roman
Yeah.
does at this point. But anyway,
No,
that's the
but why
night one main event.
why are they surprised? I don't get it. Like I think if that was just straight up Punk versus Reigns, I think they could have had something there. But Rollins like just interjects, and you know how it's going to end because Rollins is obviously lesser than the two of them, and he's just there to.
Yeah.
To answer
Then-
your question, Matt, I think they're finally wising up to it.
Yeah.
You know, because
And I-
now you've got a world champ who's around all the time and doing stuff regularly. It's like,
Yeah. The night team main event is obviously Cody versus Cena. That's the real Mania main event.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
decent match. I feel like they haven't done a good job with it though. I feel like they could have really had
No.
something with that, and they've really kind of puttered around with it.
I think the right decision should be like Cena winning. But it's like, is he going to be around doing heel stuff, or is he? Because
I'd have Cena win.
like it's his final year. I don't know. So those are the two main events. Then the other matches are Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair
That's been a disaster.
for the women's
Like
WWE
that's
Women's
so
Championship
that one's
match.
so boring that people had to latch on to. Charlotte might have gone off script to try and even like make it semi interesting.
apparently she did.
She did go off script. Apparently, Tiffany
she?
Stratton went off script, and the rumor is that she did it because Paul Heyman told her to, and gave her
Stratton
pointers
or
of what
Flair?
not- Stratton.
Oh yeah, in the next promo she did. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
but I still don't care. Like
No, because
Charlotte's probably winning.
Yeah, that's like if there was any, that's the problem with that one is if there was any question that Tiffany might win, I think that they would get a lot more buy-in on that one. But that's the problem with Charlotte though is I think Charlotte's a really good worker, but the way they book her just diminishes her so horribly. Like it's hard to like when you get distance, you look at Charlotte academically, like, oh yeah, she's a really great wrestler. But then when you get in the weeds with like the booking, and it's like the booking just so undercuts her talents as a worker.
The problem with her is that they've booked her in a way that she's
Is
almost certainly going to win the
obnoxious.
title here. Well, yes, she's going to win the title here probably, and then she'll hold the title for however long, and then when she loses the title, she'll fuck off for like months
Or get
until
hurt.
she comes back. Yeah, or get hurt, and then she'll come back, and then immediately be in a title program, and win the title. It's like rinse repeat, and it's like, but that's the booking is like they've booked her in a way that it's like, if she's not champion or fighting for the championship, it's not like she's doing anything.
Yeah.
So but also you're now like into a feedback loop. She's 39. It's like, well, if you're going to use her, you got to use her at like the top level because what's she going to do? Like she's not going to be like, you don't necessarily want to waste her.
And she's getting those bad
No,
she's getting those bad injuries,
Yeah.
like body breakdown injuries now too. Yeah.
While it would make smart sense in the sense that you should have her teach things to people, or work with the younger group or whatever. But you're not gonna waste like Charlotte Flair matches against like Maxine Dupree, or even people like Cora Jade or Roxanne Perez or something like that. Like you're not like so. Anyway, but okay.
wish,
World Heavyweight Championship match is Gunther versus Jey Uso.
I wish can I just one thing about Charlotte real quick is I wish
Yeah.
she would knock it off with a plastic surgery. Like she's
I've seen some stuff recently of like when she debuted in NXT to now, and it's like she looks so different, and it's kind of sad.
I just because it just makes me sad because especially things she said about her divorce and stuff. Like I feel like I've gotten a key into her psyche, and she seems like she has a lot of self-esteem issues and stuff. And like I don't know, it just upsets me because like I wouldn't call her like a conventionally attractive woman, but she was still like attractive. I don't know why she needed to like get all that stuff done, and she looks like weird now.
I feel very bad for her because
That
we've
divorce thing
talked
she
about
talked
this.
about was fucking brutal. Where she was just like, I
I
didn't
don't
want
think
to
I
tell. She was like, I didn't want to tell anyone because I felt like I failed again.
I didn't
And
hear
she was
that.
talking about like I didn't want to be like my dad. I just felt like a failure over it. Like I think it got posted to the Discord. It's fucking brutal. Like I totally
Yeah.
like I totally I still do. I was like I totally get that like why she feels that way, and that's awful, and I feel terrible for her
Well,
on
that
that
kind of
one.
makes the whole like shoot interview type stuff that recently happened with like the smackdown between her and Tiffany Stratton kind of like dark because the criticism I've seen about that, which I think is very fair, it's like it's so online. It's like in character, no one knows that Tiffany Stratton is dating Ludwig Kaiser. Like that, their characters don't interact. Like those are the real people they're dating, but that's never been established or people care. And at the same time, like Charlotte Flair is the character of Charlotte Flair. No one knows or cares that she's been divorced now like multiple times. Like it's not so bringing that up in an interview. It's like that's great for the super online fans who know this stuff, but
Yeah.
in an arena like you're hearing this stuff and you would be like, oh, they're like throwing bombs at each other, but I didn't know this stuff.
It's
So
like when
like, why are
CM Punk
you
brings up
responding?
AEW in a way.
Well, that's why people like it's crickets whenever he does that. 'Cause like maybe this appeals to the really online people, but no one here knows or cares.
Yeah, I don't know where I
Um,
saw it. I think Justin posted it in the Discord maybe, but it pretty much came down to she didn't want to tell anyone because she felt like a failure. She couldn't believe like another she's getting divorced again. It was
yeah.
it was very sad, and
The
I felt really bad for her.
It look, my problem with that. Yes, I agree with all of that. It that does feel sad. That is, being in this place where you feel like you can't get it together. That's really hard, and that's brutal.
And it's got to be worse
In the
when
same
you're
vein,
39 too, and it's just like I'm too old. Like that's got to make it worse too.
though, why are you turning around and trying to mean girl out of nowhere on this younger talent that you're supposed to be having a feud with?
I mean,
Like,
I, she feels threatened by her spot. I imagine.
I guess, but I mean, that's not gonna like. Yes,
Just
did that
Well,
suck in your personal life? Absolutely,
Can I
100%.
ask a question?
just
Did she take her
sure.
receipt when Tiffany went off script with some stuff Heyman did? Because if she took her receipt, I don't have a problem with it.
Apparently, she tried. Okay, I might have it garbled because I didn't. I've read about it. Is apparently Tiffany did that, and then there tried to be a little bit of back and forth, but Tiffany was ready for it or something.
Mm.
It's like, mm,
Because I've always been of the opinion beyond this, but like I've always said about guys that work super stiff, like I don't have a problem if Vader works stiff. If Vader's gonna punch you in the face and he's not gonna cry when you punch him right back in the face and he's cool with that, like I'm fine with that then. Like if guys are gonna take what they give, like I'm fine with that. And if Charlotte is gonna mean girl her, but she takes her receipt when Tiffany gives it back, and then I don't care. But I don't know if she took her receipt or not. That's just my opinion. Like if you're gonna take the receipt, then I don't see the issue with with doing stuff. I don't know how Shad feels about that as a worker, about guys taking the receipt.
If you're going to go out there and work snug, then you're going to get it back. But my thing is talk to the guy first and go, look, dude, I go a little hard out there and, just give it back to me. But, if you're, a little bitch, like low key, who won't take a receipt and pitches a fit about it, fuck you.
I think it was Austin that said with like Big Boss Man I think he said, yeah, Boss Man would just get a little rambunctious and you just have to sock him one and he'd be like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. There was D'Lo Brown had a story about that where Vader would get rough and he remembered Ron Simmons saying something, don't you let him get over on you like that. And so Vader's like doing that, the hammers in the corner, and D'Lo just kind of ducks out of it, and all of a sudden just pops him in the face, and Vader stops for a second, and then worked soft the rest of the match. It's like, okay, you know what? He took his receipt and was like, oh shit, sorry, and backed it off like that. Okay, I get that. Like, you take your receipt,
But that seems more like almost in a very bizarre way, but like just a professional check where it's like, dude, work a little stiff here, like back off,
I think
pop
some
in the
guys.
face. That's just like, oh, it like two
sorry,
gentlemen.
dude,
It's like,
sorry.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Now,
Sorry,
there's
sir. Like,
like
yes, I was lurking. Like, I'll do a little like softer.
there's
Like,
that Doctor
yeah,
I
Death.
can get that.
There's that Doctor Death Ernie Ladd story where like Doctor Death was just kind of, I guess he just got a little too rambunctious, and like Ernie Ladd like got him in the corner and just sat on him, and he's like we're gonna sit here until you start listening to me.
Yeah.
Mm.
So here, story for you. I had a match with Alex Angel, and I had a shot just get away from me. I misjudged the distance, and absolutely just rocked him with something. And what I did is when I pulled him back into a headlock, I'm like, dude, I'm sorry about that. Are you okay? And he's like, don't worry about it. I was like, do you need a receipt? And he's like, no, don't worry about it. Like, if something like that happened, I immediately owned it because I'm like, oh, damn, that was not.
Well,
I'd tell him.
It's obviously like a weird context or association, but you are owning it. It's like, yeah, dude, I'm sorry. You were like expressing to another human being, like, I goofed there.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. And you're even like, if you need a receipt, like, I get it.
Well, I mean,
And obviously Alex was conciliatory. It's like, nah, it's okay. Like, I understand. Like,
And
he appreciated, like.
I know. This.
But what if you were not? What if you were like you didn't say anything? He could have been pissed off. Well, he knew you, but I mean, like, if it's a guy you didn't know, he could have been like, fuck this guy.
Yeah. The one time I ever had to get raw on somebody in the ring, I didn't know who the hell he was. He started laying in on me, and I said, dude, ease off. And he said, or what? So I rocked him. I rocked him one good punch. I rocked him one good punch. That's all I did. And I punched him right under the ear on the jawbone. And then after I did that and he hit his knees, I said, are we going to have a problem now? And he said, no, sir. And that was all there was to it. But it was like, you going to say, or how did I told that story once, and someone said the people that say or what are never ready for the what whenever it comes.
That's like
Okay.
Remember,
that's the thing. It's like, or what? Okay, you're gonna find out.
Remember,
this is the find out portion of the show.
This is almost like prison. It's like, okay, since you said that, I got to show you what.
Yeah. There was that
so
Mania
I had a guy who was
story where Shawn Michaels was bellyaching that he wasn't going to job to Austin, and Undertaker told him, is like, you're either going to do the job in the ring or you're going to do it back here when you get after the match.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Shad?
My thing was, this is a place where we're trusting each other with stuff, and he's taking advantage of that. And then when I call him on it, he won't step back. It's like, now I'm in a place where I have to protect myself. And if I'd gone to the back, and what had happened is he said, or what, and I just went, you know what, hell with it, and I just threw down and started unloading on him, and I walked in the back and told the guys what happened, you know what they all would have said? Well, that was a dumb thing for him to do. Because what's happened is I'm trusting you for us to do this together, and yes, there's going to be a little bit of, there's going to be a little bit of, there's going to be a little bit of rubbing, because rubbing is racing, or whatever term you want to use. And then whenever I tell him to back up, he decides to make the threat out of it. It's like, no, that is, you're shopping around. You messed around and found out. And then the follow-up to that would have been, what are you going to do? Are you going to take me to court and say, oh, he hit me in a wrestling ring? Like, no. So sometimes when someone's being unsafe like that, you just got to pull them up short. And it's a weird circumstance, because I don't want to advocate, just sock somebody in the face if it's a problem. But it's one of those weird circumstances where you need to stop somebody's behavior because that behavior could injure you if they don't knock it off.
Or there's a couple great ones. When the Dudleys were being douchebags to New Day, and Biggie absolutely destroyed Bubba on the apron, and then the infamous the skyscrapers just beating that jobber up.
The best, as you said before, Brad, is like they shoe the other guy.
He didn't do anything wrong.
Go.
But I think that shows their professionalism, because they're just like, you have done nothing wrong. Be gone with you.
Yeah. Like the guy was still trying to work a little bit until Sid was like, no, out of the ring. And the guy's like, never mind. And frankly, I appreciate the shit out of Big E, like stepping up like that, because he's like, no, you're not taking advantage of us. I don't even remember exactly what it was, but
I think Cornette said that guy with the skyscrapers got his ass beaten even worse backstage, because like the match ends and like Spivey just kicks him in the head, like,
yeah,
and they just, but like that was it. Or the guy that idiot that fucked with Mike Rotunda, and Rotunda just like shot on him, and like like was cranking his arm out of the socket.
Yeah, that's.
Or
what was the guy's name? Mike Bell with Perry Saturn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, sir.
Or when Chris Champion kicked Rick Steiner in the face on that kick, and Steiner just knocks him the fuck out. Have you seen that one?
That's right. I forgot about that one.
He comes off the ropes and he just murders the.
Yeah.
Do you just as an aside? Do you believe that those cavemen duct tape Vader to a wall? Because I kind of believe it.
Vader?
Yeah, the Steiners supposedly at some point in the 90s had duct taped Vader to the wall as a joke. And I kind of believe it.
I don't remember that story.
I don't remember where I heard it from, but that's one of the stories I've heard about them, is they duct tape Vader to a wall, and I'm like, I kind of believe it. Or my other favorite story is Ron Simmons killing Ahmed Johnson's Heat after he injured him, and he came back and he just beat his ass in front of a live crowd in a ring.
I mean, I think that's been established.
Yeah, that was, Ahmed was sloppy. Ahmed was taking liberties. It's like, dude, you didn't just mess around to find out. You went shopping for that.
I feel, who told that story? I think it was D'Lo.
And Mark Henry's told that story too. Mark Henry and D'Lo.
Oh, maybe it was Mark Henry.
Because I think Mark Henry's diplomatic, but you can tell he hates his guts, and I think he's the only person I've ever heard D'Lo Brown say he hates his guts.
D'Lo's such a chill guy.
I think Charles Wright might have told that story too. I know I've heard it. I know I've heard the
look it up,
because Mark Henry and D'Lo have told was it the Mook or something story? Like he was saying something like,
moke.
Yeah,
I'm gonna moke you. And D'Lo goes, you ain't gonna moke anybody. Sit down and shut up.
I've heard them both tell that. Teddy Long hates him too.
Ahmed?
Yeah, like someone asked him about him in a shoot. He's like, Ahmed Johnson's a fucking idiot. That's all he had to say about it.
Yeah.
But I think that's it for this week. So Mania's 2 weeks away, I think. So I don't know what we're gonna be doing next week. I think it's a bit of a chaotic month for us, but we will
a little bit.
Yeah. So we will see on that one. But thank you for watching as always. We appreciate everyone that stops by to say hello. This has been the Four Corners podcast with Matt, Shad, and Brad. I'm trying not to stumble over my words right now. So thank you for watching as always, and we will catch you next time.